from San Francisco and one of the most beautiful ballparks in the country, AT&T Park, as we are set for Game 1 of the National League Division Series. The Cincinnati Reds, winners of the National League Central, against the champs from the West, the San Francisco Giants. Giants fans have made this a great atmosphere here. They always do, and they're ready to get their postseason started here in San Francisco tonight. And everybody, we welcome you from San Francisco. I'm Brian Anderson alongside Ron Darling and Joe Simpson. Great to have you with us tonight. We're looking forward to this series. It has all the makings of a very intriguing matchup. The Reds and the Giants, two division winners. And Ron, these two teams are back in the postseason now after missing out last year. The Giants are hoping to carry some of that momentum from 2010 when they were the world champs.
When you look at this Game 1, though, you really look at the battery mates. Matt Cain has been unbelievable this year. He had the perfect game. But even more importantly, as you see the ace of the staff in 2010 postseason, only no earned runs allowed in 21 1/3 innings pitched. And Buster Posey is an MVP candidate because in the second half, in 71 games, 14 home runs, 60 RBI, and he hit .385.
Two breakout stars from the 2010 World Championship team. Now, San Francisco is hoping to take advantage of the first two games of this series being in their home ballpark. So, Joe Simpson, here are the Cincinnati Reds. They're technically the home team, or they will have home field advantage. And we all know how things went for the Cincinnati Reds back in 2010. They were swept by the Phillies. But Dusty Baker feels like this club is much better. They are much deeper and much more experienced.
Primarily because of their pitching, Brian, and that's because in 2010 they relied so much on their offense. Not so much this year. This year, their pitching is very deep. They have the best record in baseball since July 5th, and tonight they'll be led by their own Cy Young candidate, Johnny Cueto, who won 19 games this year. He is a guy who's improved his stuff. He's also taken kind of command of his emotions. He's a guy that could get a little bit out of sorts if things didn't go his way. But the most important thing and the best news of all for the Cincinnati Reds is they've got their manager, Dusty Baker, back in the dugout.
Yeah, Dusty Baker missed some time, had some health trouble, had a mini stroke, but he's back in the place he is most comfortable here in San Francisco, a place he used to manage. He got a standing ovation just a moment ago. Postseason baseball back in a big way in the Bay Area. Game 1 of the NLDS coming up next on TBS. San Francisco Bay, 61 degrees, just ideal October baseball conditions here at AT&T Park. Well, Matt Cain has taken to the mound here for the Giants, their ace. With more on the Matt Cain story, we check in with the fourth member of our team, Sports Illustrated's Tom Verducci.
Well, there's no doubt that AT&T Park is a pitcher's ballpark. By far the fewest home runs in all Major League Baseball. Close, low-scoring games are just fine with the Giants and Matt Cain. Over the last two seasons, when the Giants score just 3 runs for Matt Cain, he is 25-1, including 19-0 since June of last year. We usually talk about magic numbers during pennant races, but for the Giants and Matt Cain, the magic number is 3.
Trying to advance into the NLCS. Thank you, Tom. And let's get you those starting lineups for the visiting Cincinnati Reds. This is how Dusty Baker will line them up today. Brandon Phillips leads off, the rookie shortstop, Zach Cozart, and then Joey Votto, a struggling bat down the stretch. Middle of the order, Ryan Ludwig, Jay Bruce, and Scott Rowland. And the bottom 3, Ryan Hannigan, Drew Stubbs, the speedy center fielder, and Johnny Cueto, Cincinnati's ace, matching up against right-hander and 16-game winner this year, Matt Cain.
Well, ever since he's come in the major leagues, he's been great. 85 big league wins and durable. In his 7 full seasons, he's never made less than 31 starts.
Cain had a big finish to the year. His last 10, he went 6-0 with that 2.28 ERA. But for the season, the 5 losses that he had, 2 of them were against the Cincinnati Reds this year. Ready for baseball here at AT&T Park on a picture-perfect Saturday night as Brandon Phillips will lead off for Cincinnati. Phillips, a .281 hitter, had 18 home runs this year. And the first First pitch is away for ball one, and away we go.
Brandon Phillips pretty much forced into duty in the leadoff spot, Brian, because they wanted Stubbs to lead off for him. He strikes out too much, and in 28 games in the leadoff spot, Brandon Phillips only a .202 average. They'd much rather have him in the middle of the order.
And Dusty Baker said a guy who can hit up and down his batting order, but likes him here in the leadoff spot right now. And Cincinnati is hoping for a much better game one of the division series than what we saw in 2010, when they were no hit by Roy Halladay and the Philadelphia Phillies. Reds ran into a buzzsaw that year with Halladay, Cliff Lee, and Cole Hamels. Doesn't get any easier this time around with Matt Cain on the mound as Phillips sends that one out to center field. Angel Pagan is there. That's how Matt Cain's night begins.
Here's the defense for the Giants tonight behind Matt Cain. In the outfield, Blanco, Pagan, and Pence from left to right. A combined 14 errors between those three guys. Brandon Crawford at shortstop's an interesting story. He's made a lot of errors, 18 this year. But over the last couple of months, just a total of 6, which tied him for second best over the last 2 months defensively.
And a couple of young shortstops in this matchup here in this series. And here's one of them, the rookie shortstop for the Reds, Zach Cozart. Cozart, with a batting average of .246, showed big power this season. 15 home runs. 1 ball and 1 strike on Cozart. Well, Cincinnati won 97 ball games this year, the most victories in a season for the Reds franchise since the Big Red Machine days back in '76. They won 102 that year. They finished with a 9-game lead over the St. Louis Cardinals and a division win, their second division title in the National League Central in the last 3 seasons. Brandon Belt, foul territory, and he's got it as he tumbles into the stands. Does he still have the ball? Yes, he does. What a catch by Brandon Belt.
I mean, you just settled into your seats and you get a big 6'5", 240-pounder dropped in your lap. What a nice play to start this.
We had the former big league umpire Larry Young in the booth before the game. We asked him, can you catch and tumble into the stands? He says yes, if you hold on to it. Brandon Belt held on to it.
Oh, what a great catch. Belt goes tumbling into the seats. You can keep the foul ball, but you can't keep Brandon Belt. You got to give him back. And he comes out with a baseball. Nicely done. Outstanding young defensive first baseman. So 2 gone. Here's Joey Votto. And this is going to be one of the big question marks, Ron, for the Cincinnati Reds. Votto missed 7 weeks this season with a knee injury. Had to have knee surgery as he was coming back after a month. Re-aggravated the knee. They had to go back in and remove cartilage. And he hasn't been the same bat since the surgery.
I think most hitters you talk to, if they don't have their legs or the strength in their legs, they do not have that foundation needed to drive the baseball. And Votto, one that has power to all fields when he's right.
Votto has been choking up on the bat. Barry Bonds here in San Francisco. He is not hit for any power whatsoever. You figure he's going to have a tough time pushing off. He says he'll give him as much as he can, Joe, but he said he's not going to be right until next season.
It's turned him into mostly an arm swinger, Ryan, and that's cost him a lot of power. Can't push off the back foot, can't drive against the front foot, and he's just really about half of what you would expect from Joey Votto power-wise.
Despite missing the 7 weeks, he still finished in a tie for the league lead in walks. He's #1 in on-base percentage as well. He fights that one off foul.
One of the things the Reds, I mean, there's no real secrets about Matt Cain. An old-fashioned get after it, pound the strike zone guy with his fastball. He's got a good slider and an outstanding changeup, but he is very aggressive with his fastball.
What a great matchup here. Cain against Joey Votto. Buster Posey taking his time with the signs. And the 1-2. Votto fouls another one away. Well, Matt Cain One of 7 no-hitters in Major League Baseball this year. His was a perfect game right here at AT&T Park. 28 years old. And the 1-2. Votto takes it down and in. Pitch number 8 is fouled away. Joey Votto, one of the tougher at-bats in the league, and bad knee or not, he'll give you one of the best at-bats as well. He knows his strike zone extremely well.
He accumulated so many walks, tied Dan Ugla for the most walks in the league.
Pitch number 9 of the at-bat. He lays off. That is a strikeout pitch against a lot of hitters, but not Joey Votto. Came back to the drawing board here in the first inning. 2 outs just underway from AT&T Park. Got him. Took a little off. Votto out in front. And a good start for Matt Cain. A 1-2-3 inning. A great play by Brandon Belt gets us started here tonight. Giants are coming up against Johnny Cueto. Leads off Marco Scutaro, then Pablo Sandoval. Buster Posey got a chance to win an MVP this year. He's in the cleanup spot. Hunter Pence, Brandon Belt, and the bottom 3 for Bochy: Gregor Blanco, Brandon Crawford, and Matt Cain. And Johnny Cueto is on the mound. He'll certainly be in the discussion for a Cy Young Award. A 19-game winner this year, Ron, with a 2.78 ERA.
Well, we asked Dusty Baker about Johnny Cueto, and he said the difference, he's gone from a young man to a man out on the mound. And he said the best thing he's done is situational pitching. What does that mean? Well, when he gets in trouble, he knows how to get out of trouble without panicking. He says that's been the biggest improvement for Johnny Cueto.
And a great confrontation there between Posey and Cueto coming up here tonight. Cueto with that Louis Tiant kind of move as he spins away from the hitter, shows him both numbers, and that's been a big part of his success this year. A lot of deception these days with Cueto, who relies heavily on his great changeup. No longer a bulldozer of a pitcher, according to Bronson Arroyo, as Johnny Cueto has become a contact pitcher. Strikeouts are down, but he's a guy that can now get through games with limited pitch counts.
Well, and his fastball is so good too, in the low 90s, 92 to 94 at times, and the separation between that and his changeup makes his off-speed pitch that much better.
Much different looking Giants club here against Cueto than what the Reds saw during the regular season. Angel Pagan having a red hot finish to his year in the top of the batting order. Timeout.
Well, we saw this in the wild card game. The umpire give the hitter David Ross timeout. He swings at the pitch and missed. They finally redid it and he hit a home run. Well, this time Angel asked for time. The umpire Phil Cuzzy did not give him time. He stepped out anyways, and Cueto did not deliver the pitch, or he could have got a freebie.
And Cueto, and you're always taught to just finish the pitch. He did not. And the 1-2 is upstairs. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Angel Pagan. It'll be followed by Marco Scutaro. And then Pablo Sandoval.
So let's see that number 47. That's the deception.
Steve Wright called on the inside corner. That comeback sinker from Johnny Cueto as Pagan strikes out. He's barking on his way out a little bit.
If there's a scouting report on Phil Cuzzy, is that he likes the lower part of the zone. He will call a belt-high fastball. That was a little above the belt, but still, you could see that it was in the zone, and that pitch came back a little bit for Cueto, too.
That's one of his signature pitches. If he gets that call against the left-handed hitters, it'll be a long night for the Giants. Marco Scutaro, a major addition to this Giants ball club. Coming to the Giants from the Colorado Rockies. And finished his season with a 20-game hitting streak. He hit .306 this year in the National League between the Rockies and the Giants. That was good enough for 7th in the league.
I think he hurt himself. He hurt himself the last pitch, and that's why he was walking around the mound figuring out if he should deliver the baseball, and he has hurt himself.
Worst case scenario here for the Cincinnati Reds if Johnny Cueto has to leave this game. And some anxious moments here.
Well, that motion takes a lot of twisting of the core, and you can see kind of giving up on that pitch, shaking his head no, and now bent over at the waist. Not a good sign for the Cincinnati Reds.
You could tell he was in pain as he delivered that pitch. And what does Dusty Baker do next if Cueto cannot continue?
Well, there's Matt Latos getting loose. This is the one instance where you throw all the planes you had out the door. If he can't go, you're going to have to use one of your starting pitchers. See, this is before that pitch we saw, rubbing at his back, walking around the mound, taking his time and grimacing.
That was after the strikeout.
He's going to give the ball to the skipper. So Cueto is coming out, an injury to the Cincinnati ace. Matt Latos, we saw him loosening in the dugout. He's scheduled to pitch game 3. Might he try to enter this game here? We will find out. We'll take a break, and we'll see what the Reds' next move will be as Cueto exits with an injury. And he's in the game much earlier than he ever anticipated after Johnny Cueto faces one hitter plus. He strikes out Pagan. Just 8 pitches. Cueto is out, and Sam LeCure is in a big spot now.
Well, what's interesting about LeCure is that a quarter of his appearances, 12 this year, he pitched at least 2 innings. So he's a guy who can give you a little bit of distance out of that bullpen. But I think for Dusty Baker and Brian Price, the pitching coach, they've really got to go over. If they're going to use a starter, they need him to send him to the bullpen, give him that 20 minutes or so that a starter could use, or they could decide to just run out their bullpen like a spring training game, an inning at a time.
Boy, that would really use up your bullpen quick in the first game of the division series. But I want to go back and look at the pitch he didn't throw, and let's see if there was something to that, Ron.
Yeah, remember, Pagan asked for time, was not granted timeout, but Cueto did not throw the pitch, and it was just a few pitches later he had to exit the field.
You know, you work on your mechanics all the time. You work on delivering the ball to the plate, and just a little action like that to stop everything and all that torque going to the plate to hold the baseball and not throw it, we'll have to see if that caused the injury.
Terrible frustration for a guy who's a very tough competitor. He really grew up admiring Pedro Martinez and his gutsiness, but tonight, a third of an inning.
You lose your best pitcher after when he's facing the second hitter is just unprecedented, really.
There's Dusty Baker standing next to Brian Price, terrific pitching coach of the Cincinnati Reds, and We'll keep an eye on the bullpens here. They are in plain sight just beyond the foul lines. And we saw Matt Latos underneath saying or motioning that I'm ready to go. And
yeah,
now it's going to be some interesting decision making here. First move is to get LeCure ready to go, and he'll have as much time as he needs to get loose.
Homer Bailey's a guy that was kind of penciled in for their 4th starter in this series. He might be a guy they would consider getting ready to come in instead of a steady stream of guys out of the bullpen.
And Homer Bailey would give you a guy who had a no-hitter this year, a guy that could pitch now maybe the 1st and the 5th game if he needed it.
Right. Now Marco Scutaro is at the plate here currently with an 0-2 count. And Ron, let me ask you this: for a guy like Homer Bailey or Matt Latos was not scheduled to pitch until Tuesday, Bailey Wednesday. Kind of walk us through their side sessions preparing for their start. Have they already thrown today or yesterday?
Well, that's the whole thing, is that some guys throw at different times. Some throw on their 2nd day, some throw on their 3rd day, but it's really going over the book and seeing where they throw through to know which guy really suits this purpose best. But no one's going to suit it perfectly. It's a very tough deal for the Reds.
It's a scramble. I mean, they've got their heads together in the Reds dugout trying to lay out the best plans right now for what will help their ball club. But I contend that you don't want to use everybody in your bullpen tonight on the first night of the game tomorrow.
Now the first 2 here in San Francisco, a day off on Monday, a travel day, and then this series will resume in Cincinnati on Tuesday. So LeCure is ready. And by the way, you have to warm up on the game mound. You can't go down to the bullpen. So he's given all the time he needs. The reliever is up in the 1st inning with 1 out, and we'll try to get through this first, and then we'll see what the Reds do from here on out.
You know what's nice about the veteran LeCure, though? You see a lot of pitchers rush through that. They're here in a postseason game. The house is full, and they just really want to get it warmed up as quickly as possible. He took his time. On the other side, Matt Cain, who had a nice 1st inning, is going to have about 20-plus minutes sitting on the bench.
And remember those old inter-squad games when you start with an 0-2 count? Yeah, that's the way it's going to be here for LeCure with Scutaro. So back at play as LeCure. Ground ball by Scutaro to the Gold Glover Brandon Phillips, and there is out number 2. This is what we captured while we were in commercial break. Chris Spire is the bench coach. He's saying Latos.
Latos is saying Latos.
Latos is saying Latos. And Brian Price comes over, and
well, we're going to use the pitcher whose first name begins with L, but it's going to be LeCure, not Latos right now.
I guess at this point, you treat it like you're in the middle of a game. You see how effective LeCure can be and see how much he can give you. All right, we had debris on the field last night at Turner Field, an injury here tonight. LeCure facing Pablo Sandoval, the Panda. And he is back in a big way here on the postseason roster. Bruce Bochy talked about 2010, lacked confidence, and he had to go to the bench in the postseason of 2010. This year he is a huge part in more ways than one in their offense.
Well, remember, he was replaced in that World Series in postseason by Juan Uribe, who had an amazing postseason. Turned it into a big contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
LeCure, a 4-pitch pitchers, fastball 88 to 90, maybe 91 on a good night.
Bouncing ball to Phillips. And a 1-2-3 inning for the Cincinnati Reds, but they lose their ace, their game 1 starter, Johnny Cueto. We head to the 2nd. No score from San Francisco. Play TBS Social Dugout presented by Samsung Galaxy X3. Predict the plays before they happen, score points, compete against your friends, and earn rewards. Download the app by visiting tbs.com/social dugout or text dugout to 68398. Matt Cain back on the mound as we head to the top of the 2nd inning, and Ryan Ludwig will lead off for Cincinnati. Ludwig's been a big bat in the Reds lineup this year, reuniting with his former general manager in St. Louis with the Cardinals, Walt Jocketty, who is now the GM in Cincinnati. Ludwig missed a little time down the stretch in September with a groin injury. Had 26 home runs this season and 80 driven in.
Interesting little control problems here for Kane. Usually in between innings, the pitcher will stay in the dugout for a while. He'll come out. Usually it's about 8 pitches of warm-up. He threw more than that, but still 3-0 now in the first batter, Ludwig.
Kane had a 1-2-3 first with a strikeout. He struck out Joey Votto to end the inning. There's strike one on Ludwig.
Another high strike call too by Cousin.
Pitcher-friendly AT&T Park, a great place to pitch. A lot of space in the outfield, and especially when you get to October and the cool evenings.
Brian Ludwig's a great story to me because he had about 300 at-bats in the American League before he went to St. Louis. And then at age 29, he kind of developed really late and had that huge breakout season for the Cardinals in 08 when he hit 37 homers, drove in 113 at age 29.
One of the few players you'll see goes lefty, bats righty.
Full count to Ludwig, and strike called on the outside corner. Ludwig is rung up, and he's not pleased with the call from Phil Cuzzi. So 2 strikeouts for Kane as he rings up Ludwig to start the second.
Well, fastball down and away. I mean, just off the corner maybe as we look at the pitch tracks, but called a strike by Cuzzi.
Coming back from 3-0 down as he deals strike one to Jay Bruce. Bruce coming off a career year. He finished 3rd in the National League in home runs. He had 34 this season. In the top 10 in RBIs as well. And it's 0-2 as Kane pulls the string on him.
Kane pitched twice this year against the Reds and lost both starts. One here, one in Cincinnati. 13 innings, 16 hits, and 8 runs, 4 homers allowed. 2 here, 2 in Cincinnati.
There's a high one. That's a fair ball. It bounced off the sidewall, and on to second base goes Jay Bruce. So the first hit for the Reds is a 1-out double by Jay Bruce.
Got out around that one. He's such a dangerous hitter. Lefties, righties, doesn't matter, and one of the best streak hitters in the National League.
Well, good dive by Belt there. Nifty footwork by Brian O'Nora down the first base line, making that call on an 0-2 changeup. Went to the well 3 times in a row. Did Matt Kane.
And now Scott Rowland. Rowland back in the postseason. Always a tough hitter. Rowland hit .245 this year, but it's his presence defensively, his presence in the clubhouse, and a guy that will put the ball in play, does all the little things. And Dusty Baker says he's the captain of that clubhouse. He makes my job a lot easier as manager of this club.
Because they clinched so early, it allowed the Reds to get Rowland healthy. One of the things that's been the big problem for him the past half-dozen seasons is staying healthy on the field.
That's what Dusty told us before the game. He said that's maybe the biggest part of the ball club right now is having him ready to go.
Now these 2 teams clinched on the same day as Rowland to the right side, perfectly positioned. No, knocks it down, flips it to Kane. Good scouting report by the Giants. They have Belt in the perfect spot, and Rowland, instead of a base hit to right, which might have produced a run, is an out.
That's 2 good defensive plays already by Brandon Belt. Catch over the railing in foul territory, and that was a hot shot that he stayed in front of to knock down.
Interesting, Joe. You're right. A lot of first basemen might play that off to the side. He decided to give up his body, block it, and still had time.
2 gone, runner at third. Bruce advances, and here is Ryan Hannigan, emerging as the everyday catcher for Cincinnati. strength on the outside corner. It's an open zone for Phil Cuzzy. As the wind starting to pick up here at AT&T Park. Reds with a runner at third. And Hannigan lifts it in the air up into that wind. Hunter Pence. No problem. Kane, 2 scoreless. A double by Bruce. He strands him at third base. And Buster Posey coming up. Will lead off. Our Goodyear superior performance. We take a look at Buster Posey. Won the batting title this season. First since Ernie Lombardi, the schnoz of the Boston Braves back in 1942. Buster Posey winning the batting title in the National League this year. A .336 hitter. Joe Bauer in the American League with 3 batting titles. The first in the National League since '42. And Posey ready to lead off against Sam LeCure. Only part of the story here as we resume play in the bottom of the second inning. As Matt Latos has made his way down into the Cincinnati bullpen. And he begins to get loose. The Game 3 starter going to be asked to pitch here in Game 1.
I think the plan is you want to get LeCure through the second inning. Latos would start the third.
LeCure came on to get the final 2 outs after Johnny Cueto left this game with an injury. The pitcher spot is due up second for the Reds in the third inning.
Ron, I think you're exactly right with respect to your feeling that maybe Latos would be able to get through his normal routine before coming in instead of feeling the rush of having to warm up fast to get in the game in the middle of an inning
and risk messing with 2 of your starting pitchers.
Well, that's a good call there, and it looks like he is just going through his normal routine down there in no hurry.
So it is LeCure who is stuck with the middle of this order in the second inning. Posey, Pence, and Brandon Belt. Scoreless from San Francisco. LeCure misses high. Buster Posey, what a great year. One of the greatest offensive years by a catcher in National League history. If you look at those numbers on the batting title, it's been a long time since a catcher has won a batting title. But the power numbers are impressive as well, playing half of his games in this ballpark. 24 homers. He finished 6th in the league in RBIs with 103.
And had one of the best second halves in the history of the game. He had .385 after the All-Star break and an on-base percentage of .456.
This is after a devastating injury last season, only playing in 45 games.
Two balls, 2 strikes on Posey. And a swing and a miss, a mighty cut. And LeCure strikes him out. Well, Johnny Cueto out of this game with an injury. We check in with Tom Verducci. Tom?
Well, Johnny Cueto came out of the game with what the Reds are calling back spasms. He felt something in his back while warming up. Went ahead into the game, just couldn't get through that first inning, obviously. Came back to the clubhouse clearly upset, slamming his glove against the door. And right behind him was Matt Latos to get himself game ready for this game, the Game 3 starter. But Johnny Cueto, that Reds believe is not serious in terms of the length of the series. They do think he'll get treatment the next couple of days. Obviously, they'll monitor him, but they're calling it right now back spasms day to day for Johnny Cueto.
All right, thank you, Tom. And I guess in an ideal world, you could just flip-flop Cueto and Latos if everything is okay. Back spasms is actually probably good news for Johnny Cueto and the Reds.
Say so.
That next spot would come up on Tuesday as LeCure faces Hunter Pence here with one away.
I mean, that's the uniqueness of the format that we haven't even mentioned yet, that the home field advantages to the Cincinnati Reds. They won't see home until Tuesday.
They will get 3 home games if it does go to the maximum 5 games in this best-of-5 series. As Hunter Pence, a chopper over to third. Roland, an 8-time Gold Glover, makes the play for out number 2. Much different-looking Giants club here against Cueto. This is Johnny Cueto. This is Angel Pagan, the first batter Cueto faced, and just kind of stretching it out a little bit. And there was the timeout that actually wasn't granted as an official timeout, and that no throw by Cueto.
A little bit of a wince there too as he was walking off the mound, walking down the side of the mound toward their dugout.
Meanwhile, for the Reds, how big would it be if Sam LeCure can get through this inning, give him an inning and 2/3 here today, and allow Latos to get loose at his own pace and start the 3rd inning.
Talk about being slapped in the face and saying, okay, go pitch.
Yeah.
Nobody in their bullpen had any idea mentally that they needed to be ready to go in the 1st inning.
And a swing and a miss by Brandon Belt.
They were taking it all in, deciding which bubble gum they're going to chew or
exactly,
which seeds they were going to eat.
Latos continues his warm-ups. If you're wondering, Sam LeCure entered earlier than the 5th inning only once this year, went a 1/3 of an inning on July 31st, and he went 2/3 of an inning that day, came in after a 1/3 of an inning. Pitched at least 2 innings in 12 of 48 appearances this year. And that game against San Diego was his longest outing of the season. He's trying to give the Reds an inning and 2/3 tonight and bridge the gap. 2 balls and a strike on Brandon Belt.
It's funny. You're usually trying to bridge that gap to the closer. Now you're bridging a gap to a starter.
Starter, bridge, starter.
LeCure 16 pitches thus far, and the 13th of this inning is a walk. So Brandon Belt, the first base runner for San Francisco, and a 2-out walk will bring up Gregor Blanco. Now, relievers are used to it, but you always wonder, he's standing right next to Matt Latos. Latos says, I'm ready to go. I can pitch. And they say, no, we're concerned you might get injured. Look here, you're in.
You're in.
Right. You get out there. Take your time, Matt. Tell us when you're ready. Gregor Blanco. Giants have been using a bit of a platoon in left field with Xavier Nady and Gregor Blanco. Blanco gets to start tonight, and speculation is that we'll see Nady tomorrow, perhaps against Bronson Arroyo. Different kind of hitters, different kind of defensive players.
Well, I think the key for tonight's game is Xavier Nady had some good numbers of Cueto, who's now out of the game, but wanted to really concentrate on the defense with Matt Cain on the mound.
And there's another part of this situation from the other dugout for the Giants. All that preparation, all that video work they do against Cueto, going through all the sequences, all that's out the window now.
This is an aspect too that Dusty Baker told us concerned him the most about the Giants, and that's their speed. 4th in the league in stolen bases, and even big Brandon Belt over there, 12 out of 14 in stolen bases. Blanco also another part of that equation and why he got the start tonight.
So he walks Belt. Now LeCure 2-0 to Gregor Blanco. And he whips that one into right center field. That's down. The speedy Stubbs able to cut it off. Blanco into second base with a double. As the Giants get their first hit, a 2-out double by Gregor Blanco.
Yet another postseason inning where a walk is a rally. All of a sudden, it's 2nd and 3rd as that high fastball picked off by Blanco. And the Giants in business with 2 out for Brandon Crawford.
People always talk about great outfield play, the ability to throw a runner out. Sometimes just getting the ball in the gap and getting it back in is a key play.
And that will allow Baker to walk Brandon Crawford, the 8th place hitter, putting Matt Cain at the plate with the bases loaded. Taking no chances here. Maybe with Johnny Cueto, you let him go after the 8th place hitter in a spot like this, but not as Baker's trying to squeeze through this second inning.
Crawford had a difficult year this year, but his last 43 games, he hit 300 as he came around. The only problem you have here is Matt Cain, very accomplished hitter for a pitcher, has a home run this year.
He hit a couple of doubles. He's from Dothan, Alabama. Guys from Dothan, Alabama can pitch.
Taking it?
Yeah.
You work on that list. So Matt Cain steps in the spotlight here. Bases loaded. Sam LeCure retired the first two hitters, a strikeout and a ground out, but then let Brandon Belt get away. He was ahead of him early, then walked him. A double by Blanco put himself in a hitter's count, and now the intentional walk to Crawford. Cain, a 176 hitter this season in 74 at-bats. Drove in 6 runs. First pitch, a drive into deep right field. Bruce is there. Cain hit it like a bullet, but Jay Bruce runs it down, and Sam LeCure has bridged the gap. We'll see Latos next as we go to the third. Cabrera and the Detroit Tigers. Coverage begins Sunday at noon Eastern, only on MLB Network, and go to MLBnetwork.com for the channel number. Matt Cain back on the mound. We start the third inning, and Drew Stubbs leads off for Cincinnati. Stubbs hitting out of the 8th spot. The pitcher spot is coming up next. And Dusty Baker already has another starting pitcher on deck. Well, what a great job by Sam LeCure to give the Reds an inning and 2/3 after the injury to Johnny Cueto. Sometimes the biggest moments of a ball game occur early, and it happened very early here tonight for the Reds after the first batter.
It's not many times Sam LeCure has had his day over at 7:30 at night.
2 balls and a strike on Stubbs, and a base hit to left field. And a base stealer is aboard for Cincinnati as Drew Stubbs, a big question mark in the Cincinnati batting order with a high strikeout rate, is aboard to start the third. Great shot here between innings. Sam LeCure, that's the kind of visit you want to have to the principal's office. Dusty Baker says, way to go, kid. Save me. Did he ever?
Saw that graphic on Drew Stubbs, 30 stolen bases, 3 straight years. Really talented player.
Now Homer Bailey, the Game 4 starter. Dusty Baker's now going to plow through a position player here with an opportunity to bunt.
5 sacrifice bunts this season for Bailey.
And he had to exhibit a little speed tonight already, too. He had to hustle back to the clubhouse and get his spikes on.
Not just a spectator. All hands on deck tonight for the Reds.
Cain keeping an eye on Stubbs. Usually holds the runners great at first base. Stubbs, one of the best athletes in the National League, can fly.
Remember that play Stubbs made last inning, cutting that ball off, the double by Blanco, as Bailey fouls it away. Bailey coming off a no-hitter just a few weeks ago. Through the 7th no-hitter in Major League Baseball this season. As he no-hit the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mark Barry going through the signs at third.
He's still bunting, isn't he?
Yes.
Even 0-2, that's what he was sent up there to do.
Sandoval creeps in from third, and Bailey not bunting. Takes a ball.
That must be Bailey on his own. You'd like to see as the manager that tries one more chance to get this ball down.
He's not the starting pitcher tonight. He's not going to stay in the game. So you've been asked to bunt, even at the expense of another foul ball or strikeout. Continue to try it.
Pulls it back, and he strikes out. Cain puts a fastball right by him, the old Butcher Boy play. And one gone with Stubbs at first as we check in with Matt Weiner in our Atlanta studios. Matt? I need to get up on that technology. That'd be a great spot. This would be a perfect Instagram moment. Beautiful vista here. Looking out over the San Francisco Bay. Incredible views from this ballpark. One of the most picturesque in all of Major League Baseball. They're waiting. Brandon Phillips back to the top of the order. Now we'll see if the Reds start to put their running game in place here. It's not just the stolen bases that the Reds were very successful at this season. They take extra bases. They're very aggressive trying to score. Anything down a line or in a gap, and Stubbs will score from first base. Phillips fouls it away, and the count goes 0-2.
Well, the only two guys on their team in double figures in stolen bases were Drew Stubbs with 30 and Brandon Phillips, who had 15.
Buster Posey throws the ball extremely well behind the plate. No balls and 2 strikes on Phillips.
Buster Posey already tonight, Ron's given a high target when they've been a hit in the count, trying to get some chases up out of the zone.
Well, the scouting report, of course, on the Cincinnati Reds who strike out a lot is that once you get ahead, they will expand the strike zone. So that's what Posey is trying to do with the help of Bochy there in the distance.
And a breaking ball hit high in the air, deep left field. That ball's got some carry, and that ball is gone. Brandon Phillips with a 2-run home run, and the Reds are on the board. A hanging breaking ball from Matt Cain, and Phillips did not miss it. So not only have they bridged the gap with Sam LeCure, but now they get big offense with Latos prepared to come into this game.
No stride from Phillips, stayed back beautifully. Just a matter of whether or not it was too high.
And really, the 2012 campaign for Matt Cain against the Cincinnati Reds, he's just been giving up the home run ball. 5th one this season.
Second career postseason home run for Brandon Phillips. First one of the postseason back in 2010. And he gives Cincinnati a jolt here in the 3rd as Matt Cain gives up the home run ball. Zach Cozart takes strike 1.
The first 2 runs that Matt Cain has given up that have been earned in the postseason.
Well, the Cincinnati ball club is so balanced. They have power and speed. They're accomplished in their ballpark, which is just the opposite of this one. It is a hitter-friendly, home run-friendly venue. Going to the Cozart is inside for a ball.
Back to Brandon Phillips for just a second, guys. Remember, Dusty Baker told us tonight before the game that Phillips may well be the MVP of this team, that he has to use him leading off, would rather bat him in the middle of the order, but he's one of the few players he's ever had.
Oh, as Cozart is hit by a Cain pitch, and looks like he's okay, but that's a dangerous area to be hit by a pitch.
To finish that Phillips is one of the few players he's ever had that he could bat anywhere in the order, and tonight a 2-run homer out of the leadoff spot.
And Phillips strikes with a big home run. And now Cain hits Cozart with a 2-strike pitch, which brings Joey Votto to the plate. 1 out, runner at first. Joey Votto struck out in the first inning. Cain got him on a changeup. And that MVP season in 2010, he led the Cincinnati Charge. He made a run at a Triple Crown that year in 2010. But the Philadelphia pitching staff with Halladay, Lee, and Hamels just too much. Or Oswald and Hamels, I beg your pardon. Just too much for him in 2010. Todd Frazier spelled Joey Votto while he was out with a knee injury. And many in that Reds clubhouse feel that Frazier's efforts at first base filling in is what carried them through. As Votto draws the walk after a hit batter, a walk, and now Dave Righetti is on his way out. 6 pitches in a row out of the strike zone, and 20 in this inning for Matt Cain.
And that's 5 homers he's allowed now to the Reds this year in 16 innings of work. And he came into the game a red hot pitcher. His last 10 starts he had gone 6-0, an ERA in the low 2s. It's the 3rd homer Phillips has hit off of him in his career.
Well, the only out, the pinch hitter, starting pitcher Homer Bailey, trying to bunt the runner over. Struck out. And 2 hits, a hit batter, and now a walk as Righetti says his piece. And Bruce Bochy pacing in that Giants dugout. 2 on, 1 out. Here's Ryan Ludwig.
What a shot in the arm for the Reds, who lose their starting pitcher only into the 2nd hitter and now get an early lead.
Ludwig, a first ball hitter, and Cain's thrown 6 straight balls. Ludwig lays off 7 in a row from Cain. That's started him with a breaking ball.
It's been an interesting year for Cain. He's got the perfect game, but some of his years prior to this have been much more consistent. He's had a couple of bad games, which you don't usually see from him during the regular season. I mean, real bad games.
And Ludwig takes a strike. And Matt Cain this year, in his 16-win season, had a 2.79 earned run average throughout the course of the year. But had a bit of a blow-up game on September 2nd against the Cubs. That was at Wrigley Field. He gave up 5 earned runs in 5 innings. Most earned runs he's given up all year in a game is 5. As Ludwig, slow roller out to second. Scooter Crawford to first in time and a double play. And just like that, Matt Cain and the Giants are out of the inning, but not before Brandon Phillips goes deep. First runs Matt Cain has ever given up in the postseason. Phillips goes deep, 2-0 Reds.
Well, on a night that began with some bad news for the Reds, losing Johnny Cueto to back spasms, 1 batter into this game, there is a piece of good news for the Reds, and that is Reds general manager Walt Jocketty told me there's absolutely no consideration to the possibility of any roster move involving Cueto. In fact, he is hopeful that Johnny Cueto can take the ball for Game 3 that start in Cincinnati. Of course, that will depend on how he responds to treatment in the next 24 to 48 hours. I think that's a piece of good news for the Reds that Cueto, if he's okay, would be in line for Game 3. Guys?
Huge news there, Tom. Thank you, and thanks to Walt Jocketty for passing that news along. That Tuesday's start was supposed to be Matt Latos' start, but he is in the game as a reliever, as Angel Pagan sends one out to Stubbs in center field for out number 1. And guys, Matt Latos, a 14-game winner this year, the big trade. Walt Jocketty working a deal with the San Diego Padres to get another ace on his staff, and that was Matt Latos at the expense of 4 prospects.
Well, at 24 years old, already has made 105 starts in the major leagues. Outstanding year, really tempered by 15 no decisions, which tied Cliff Lee in the National League.
Has never pitched in relief in the major leagues. As a matter of fact, the last time he appeared as a reliever in the Midwest League in Single A, pitching for Fort Wayne in 2009. Latos, a hard thrower, great stuff, and he has had great success against the San Francisco Giants.
4-3 record and an excellent ERA. His fastball 93 to 95.
Scudero on a couple of hops to Zach Kozar, and there is out number 2.
But among our opening comments, guys, talking about the Cincinnati Reds was the fact that they're here this year because of an improved pitching staff. And it's being put to the test right away tonight in Game 1.
Yeah, they have strength in numbers, don't they? The only thing about Walt Jocketty, there he is. The news about Cueto is that they do have a 5-hour flight in front of them after tomorrow night's game, which always can wear on your back.
Dusty Baker and Brian Price, Cincinnati's pitching coach, hoping they have weathered the storm here. Brandon Phillips with a 2-run home run to give Cincinnati the lead as Sandoval fouls it back.
And Latos is enough of a free spirit that he might take to this role of coming in and kind of being a spoiler here as a second starter in this game for Dusty Baker.
Latos pitching for the San Diego Padres in the same division as the Giants, matching up against Matt Cain. He knows this lineup. His first year in the National League Central in Cincinnati. And Walt Jocketty was able to bargain a great farm system to land Matt Latos. And what the Reds did not have in 2010, they have much of in 2012, and that's pitching, and that is front of the line rotation type pitching at Cueto and Latos.
What you've got to respect here, and we'll see how it fares for Matt Latos, is that starting pitchers, Ron, and you can certainly vouch for this, creatures of habit. They've got a routine. They've got to go through the starts way before they get to the ballpark, and to just be fired out there and say you're in there. Some guys can handle that, some can't.
And I think he wouldn't have been able to handle it if he would have been put out where Sam LeCure went. They took it their time, let him go out to the mound, warm up like you would for any other game.
Well, that really was a smart move as it looks now. As LeCure was able to go an inning and 2/3. Meanwhile, the Giants are going to go back to their scouting reports on Matt Latos, something they didn't think they'd have to do until Tuesday.
I know I didn't.
Are you coming up a little thin over there, Joe?
We're doing it now, though. We're doing it now.
I don't have my Latos list.
2-2 as Sandoval fouls it back. Latos' last pitch, by the way, on October 2nd. Second to last day of the regular season, and it was just a moderate outing for him. They were limiting him to about 80 pitches. He went 78 pitches against the Cardinals in 5 innings. But he did win that game. He won his 14th of the season, getting up just 1 run in 5 innings. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Pablo Sandoval. Giants have 1 hit. Gregor Blanco's double. Stranding the bases loaded in the 2nd inning. Lato wearing out Ryan Hannigan behind the plate. He's already had to block a number of pitches back there.
Well, Dusty Baker, though, had so much praise for Ryan Hannigan, what he's done for this young pitching staff, his ability to call a game. They trust him back there. And there's got to be some trust when you fire one about 55 feet. So Hannigan shakes it off.
Looks like he caught that one on the throwing hand.
They threw 12 shutouts this year. He caught 11 of them.
Payoff pitch, Sandoval fouls it away on a big cut. Well, if you're the Giants and you're starting to look ahead here, you know Cincinnati has this great bullpen, the best bullpen statistically in the National League, and it starts in the 7th inning with Sean Marshall, and then Broxton in the 8th, and then Chapman in the 9th. They can shorten a game to the best of them. Sandoval rips one to right center, a base hit. What a great battle for Pablo Sandoval. And a 2-out single for the Giants, just their 2nd hit.
Another base hit on a breaking ball and a high one at that.
Sandoval is usually the type of hitter within 3 or 4 pitches. He's usually in or out. But that time, 9 pitches.
And here comes Buster Posey with chance of MVP raining down on him here at AT&T Park. Posey last time up struck out. LeCure struck him out. to lead off the second inning.
Has anyone ever won the MVP and the Comeback Player of the Year award in the same year?
Who could do it, right?
A gruesome injury last year, an ankle injury. Big bounce off the plate. Rowland backing up on it. Long throw is in time, and Matt Latos is off and running. His first inning, the third inning. 2-0 Reds.
Is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
Matt Cain goes back to work. National League Division Series Game 1 between two division winners, the Cincinnati Reds and the San Francisco Giants. 2-0 our scores. Jay Bruce sends one deep right field. Back is Pence, looks up, and there it goes. Jay Bruce with a home run, the second of the night for the Reds against Matt Cain. And the Reds have a 3-0 lead. So making 6 home runs this year against Matt Cain for Cincinnati.
And Jay Bruce now 8 for 15 against Matt Cain. Like something he was trying to turn over. Was it a changeup?
A little changeup that didn't get to the outside corner. And you see the strength of Bruce.
Well, the Reds come out banging away here, making AT&T Park look like Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Phillips and Bruce with home runs. Scott Rowland into right. Pence had him shaded in the alley, and a long way to make the catch. Fair territory, out number 1. As Cain retires Scott Rowland.
You know, I think we tend to talk about the Great American Ballpark as a small ballpark. It is. But they've got tremendous power for these Reds. They won 97 games. We just didn't know how they would react, being the team that's supposed to have the home field advantage with starting here against the world champions 2 seasons ago and Matt Cain. Well, they've answered the question so far.
Now, Bruce's homer went to the deepest part of the ballpark.
Ryan Hannigan takes strike 1. Well, Cincinnati had one of the great summer runs of the season in Major League Baseball. They won 22 out of 25 games during a stretch from early July to early August. And did all of that without Joey Votto in the lineup. That's when he was on the disabled list. 22-3 during that stretch.
And you saw that good mark too, and they scored first. This is not just a good pitching staff, it's a good defensive club too. They were second to the Braves in defense in the National League.
Hannigan in the air to right. And Cain has out number 2. Bruce Bochy sees his ace give up 3 quick runs on 2 home runs. As Drew Stubbs will step in. Stubbs singled and scored in the 3rd inning. That ball is hit in the air to right field. 3 in a row to Hunter Pence to end the inning. So Cain comes back after the homer, but Cincinnati, after Jay Bruce goes deep, they lead 3-0 over Matt Cain and the Giants. Reds lead 3-0. A 2-run homer by Brandon Phillips, and Jay Bruce goes deep to start the 4th inning. And Cincinnati on top quickly against Matt Cain and the Giants. Hunter Pence will lead off for San Francisco. Matt Latos back out for his 2nd inning of relief work. A free swinging Pence fouls it away. If you're just picking us up here and wondering where Johnny Cueto is, he left this game after 1 batter faced with back spasms. Tom Verducci reported it's not serious. They're expecting Cueto to perhaps come back and start game 3 on Tuesday, which was the game Latos was supposed to start. Sam LeCure was able to go an inning and 2/3, and now Latos' second inning. Another big bouncing ball. Rolling again. Got to hurry this time. And that ball's thrown away. Just out of the outstretched glove by Votto. Pence did not turn after going through the bag at first. And he will reach a leadoff base runner for the Giants. And that'll be an infield hit for Hunter Pence.
Scott Rowland's turned in some good plays already, but this is a tougher one with a faster runner. Had to throw on the run and couldn't get it there.
So Pence is aboard, and for the first time tonight, the Giants have a leadoff hitter on. Actually, they're going to change the scoring right now. It's going to be taken from an infield hit to an E5 on Scott Rowland after the official score looked at the replay.
That's a tough home book right there. Pence has got a lot of speed. Rowland playing that on the line, on the run. I guess when you have 8 Gold Gloves, they demand better.
Well, the phrase ordinary effort has come up in the last couple of days. And
enough.
It would apply in this situation. That was a tough play on Rowland. Big spot for the Giants, knowing they must try to do something against Matt Latos. Brandon Belt had 7 home runs this year, more known for his defense. He is a superb defensive first baseman. We've already seen it twice in this game.
He started coming around though with the bat, not just power wise but average wise. Last couple of months he hit right at 330.
Ball and a strike on Belt. He lays off Hannigan. Nice job blocking that pitch. Keeps Pence at first base.
He's been hit so many times already. He kind of winced on this one.
Well, the one thing about Hannigan is that he is not your prototypical large leg, big plodding kind of catcher. He's kind of a very athletic catcher behind there and makes those plays often.
And can really throw.
Pence runs well, but hasn't been running much. Only 5 steals this season. He's at first for Belt. 2 balls and a strike. And Belt takes one inside.
You know, they always talk about power hitters. It takes 3 or 4 years in the big league until they find their form. Pitch recognition, the ability to know how the pitcher is trying to get them out. And I think Belt, if given time, is going to be one of those guys. It's going to be a 20-plus home run.
Giants feel like they'll hit. Last time the Giants were in the postseason, he was still in the minor leagues. As he rips on, caught by Votto to the bag. And a double play. Belt hit it right on the screws, but right at Joey Votto. And 2 quick outs with 1 swing of the bat.
Right place at the right time, holding the runner. Just bounce off a step or 2, and good reactions from Votto on that rocket.
Really, it was if he got his glove up in time. See how he gets down, ready for the ground ball, gets that line drive, and makes the play. Shakes his head. You know what? Just take the 2 outs. It's good.
Two going for Gregor Blanco now. Well, Matt Latos had 2 finishers this year. Cincinnati led all of baseball in complete games. Latos had 2 complete games. They came back to back, and the second of his 2 complete games was against the Giants here at AT&T Park. That was back on June 30th with 9 innings, and it was a 2-hitter against San Francisco.
Well, keep in mind too, he was in this division. He was with the Padres. He saw them and they saw him, so there's probably not too many secrets between the 2. Much like pitching here in this spacious ballpark.
0-2 the count on Blanco. And just off the plate. Ball and 2 strikes. Reds and the Tigers led baseball in complete games this year with 9. Another one down in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And you start to wonder, Latos, as he carries on in this game, he's never pitched on 3 days rest in his career, in his big league career, which is what he's doing here tonight. But he didn't know he was going to be pitching on 3 days rest.
Well, Brian, just the adrenaline, though, the postseason should really negate wear and tear he's had from less rest and the innings pitched this year.
Full count. Had him 0-2. Now 3 balls, 2 strikes. And it's ball 4. So a base runner for the Giants. And it's time now to talk. Brought to you by Charles Schwab. Moments ago, we met with Reds manager Dusty Baker. Well, Dusty, you've had some health trouble. I'm asking how your heart is after that start. Johnny Cueto leaving and Sam LeCure bridging a big gap for you.
Well, they did, and I tell you, that didn't help it any. You know, I just hated to see when I went out there to see Johnny, you know, in pain like that. But you know, Sam bridged the gap. I was telling the guys that this is similar to, you know, losing Joey, and you know, we just got to find a way. And now Big Latos was pressed into duty, and hopefully he can give us you know, some quality innings until I get to a latter part of my pool.
Dusty, it's Ronnie. It doesn't matter where you put Brandon Phillips, he just keeps on hitting, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And I mean, this guy is unbelievable. I mean, I've never had a player that can hit all over the lineup like him. And you know, boy, you know, I was a big lift to give us a, you know, home run like this.
And what that home run's done, and the home run by Bruce, guys, to me, is now you got Latos on the mound. What was a scramble for the Reds for the first couple of innings is all of a sudden come full circle. They've got a starter on the mound that they have a lot of confidence in, and they've got the lead. So now they can just run, for Dusty and his staff, run a normal ball game.
Dusty Baker got a standing ovation when he was introduced here tonight. Former Giants manager. It's been a decade since he managed here. Spent some time in the hospital last month, had an irregular heartbeat, and then as he was about ready to be discharged from the hospital, he suffered a mini stroke while checking out of the hospital and went back in. He did make it back to manage the final series of the year against St. Louis, but he's dropped about 20 pounds. And he was in great spirits when we talked to him today. He said he's conserving all of his energy because he wants to be the same Dusty Baker during the game that he always has been.
Chris Spire, his good friend and bench coach, did a fantastic job while Dusty was away.
He did.
Brandon Crawford down on the count. No balls, 2 strikes. A runner at first. 2 outs in the inning. And Crawford, a foul tip into the mid of Hannigan. A strikeout for Latos. And 2 scoreless for the big right-hander. Lights are up full candle here at AT&T Park as we head to the 5th inning. Brian Anderson with Ron Darling, Joe Simpson, Tom Verducci. Great to have you with us tonight. Matt Latos entering the game as a relief pitcher in the 3rd inning, his first trip to the plate. Matt Cain and the Giants down 3-0 on a pair of homers. Brandon Phillips, a 2-run shot in the 3rd, and Jay Bruce went deep in the 4th.
Another pitcher that can swing a 2-run. 12 hits for Latos on the year, a double and a homer included, 4 RBIs.
Now Cain surrendering 4 hits through the first 4 innings. He's hit a batter and has issued 1 walk. There's a good breaking ball for Cain. Now it's time to talk, brought to you by Charles Schwab. Moments ago we met with Giants skipper Bruce Bochy. Well, Bruce, we just heard from Dusty Baker about their scramble with their starter out. How about from your side when the opposing starter leaves the game that early?
Well, we're not sure what they're going to do. I mean, we got ourselves prepared to face Cueto, and the guy stopped us for an inning in the third or 2/3 there. Then now we got to work it out because we're facing another great pitcher in Latos, and that's a pretty good arm to throw out there with the lead.
How does your preparation change, Bruce? I mean, you guys watch video, you go over scouting reports all for Johnny Cueto, and all of a sudden you got one of their other starters out there.
Well, we have all their pitchers down on our chart, so the hitters know them. We have information on them, so it's not really a big adjustment. I guess the biggest adjustment, you're probably going to face them one time and that's it. But now they have one of their aces in there, and we got a battle now to get back in this thing. Matty's just left a couple off-speed pitches up to Skowski.
You know, that's the key that Bruce Bochy just mentioned. Because of Latos coming after Sam McCure got it through to the third inning, you're really asking Latos to get 12 outs, to pitch 4 innings and get into your bullpen. So you'll only see him once, maybe twice through the lineup.
Latos 2 scoreless so far. As Brandon Phillips down on the count 0-2 takes ball 1.
Which may play perfectly into that short rest, Brian. Pitching on 3 days rest, just get 3 or 4 innings and take a hike.
Matt Cain at 70 pitches. And the 0-2 is fouled away. Brandon Phillips in the third inning. Matt Cain with a breaking ball on Brandon Phillips, trying to go with a hook and left it up. And Brandon Phillips did not miss it.
Well, the hitters who don't stride are going to be less fooled by the breaking ball because there's not a lot of moving parts. Pitch up in his eyes, and another home run for Phillips.
A lazy pop-up. Brandon Belt in fair territory. Makes the play for out number 2. 2 quick ones for Matt Cain in the 5th. San Francisco was able to hold off the Los Angeles Dodgers. Remember all those big trades the Dodgers made. 2 trade deadline deals. Hanley Ramirez and Shane Victorino. The trade deadline this year, the Dodgers were just 1 game back, and then San Francisco was able to finish +8 on the Dodgers in the division, winning 94 games. Zach Cozart into left field, a base hit. Rookie shortstop, a 2-out single, and that's going to bring Joey Votto to the plate.
Ron, I know you like Zach Cozart as much as I do.
Yeah.
He was in the top 10, some categories top 5 in all rookie offensive categories, as well as playing some good defense. And it was Cozart that was tied with Crawford for fewest errors, second fewest errors in the National League over the last half of the season. Paul Janisch led in that category.
That was 2 rookies for Cincinnati that really made a lot of noise this year. Todd Frazier, who is a big story for the Reds, is Votto on the first pitch. A little bit of a slip by Scudero, no problem. And Matt Cain, a scoreless 5th. Cincinnati 3, San Francisco 0. Giants are coming up. We go to the bottom of the 5th in the Bay. Reds and Giants fans follow their teams with the Team Stream app. Download Team Stream, choose your teams, and you're all set. Get Team Stream from Bleacher Report today. Matt Cain's scheduled to hit will be lifted for a pinch hitter. The Giants ace is out of this game after 5 innings on the mound. Giving up 3 runs. Aubrey Huff will be the pinch hitter. 5 hits allowed, 2 home runs. Against Matt Cain, he exits with just 75 pitches. And you see right away the differences in postseason baseball compared to regular season baseball.
You know, 2 mistakes and you're out of the ball game because you can't waste an out or take a chance with the pitcher hitting, going right to the bench.
And Aubrey Huff, who was a star in the Giants World Series year of 2010. Is out of the way. It's been a rough year for Aubrey Huff. There was a lot of discussion about whether he would even be on the postseason roster or not. Giants considered carrying 3 catchers at one point, but maybe Bruce Bochy hoping that Aubrey Huff can find some of that 2010 magic.
Only 78 at-bats in the regular season. He hit 192. Hurt his knee jumping over the railing after the perfect game by Matt Cain, and played very little since.
Huff sends it high in the air out to center field. Routine for Stubbs. One gone for Matt Latos. The discussion between manager and ace. Cain was on his way to the bat rack, and Bruce Bochy cut him off.
Well, you're hoping that you can get to the bat rack before he cuts you off, get the helmet on, the gloves, and the bat, and get in the on-deck circle, but not to be for Matt Cain.
Well, you know he's frustrated, especially as he sees Cincinnati's ace Johnny Cueto exit this game after one batter. Advantage Giants at that moment, but Dusty Baker and the Reds have been able to turn it around, and let's not forget the effort of Sam LeCure in this game. It was an inning and 2/3 to get it from Cueto to Latos. As Latos deals strike one to Angel Pagan.
It's on the Giants offense now, obviously, to figure out some way to get back in this ball game.
Little flare. That is going to fall for a base hit. And Angel Pagan, who had a red-hot month of September, picks up a base hit for the Giants, just their third, and it's a one-out base runner.
He was an excellent acquisition from the Mets. Played great defense for them. Led the league, led the world in triples this year. And it's a great triples ballpark, but he's done everything they asked.
Latos just threw the ball in. This is the first postseason for Angel Pagan, and his first hit.
So now Scudero, the compliment to Pagan in the leadoff spot, the contact hitter in the number 2 spot. Scudero, who was 0 for 2, a couple of ground balls. And you know Latos with that power sinker would love to get a ground ball here and get out of this inning.
Taking the bunt there with Scudero. You know, your speed is negated a bit here with the deficit of 3 runs. Pagan, one of their fastest runners on first base.
At 29 steals this season. The 36-year-old Marcos Scudero. New life here in San Francisco. Playing for a struggling ball club in Colorado. Had some good days on the other side of the bay with the Oakland Athletics. Played a lot of second base in those days under Ken Maka. The last postseason team in Oakland back in 06. Scudero was a part of that ball club.
He had 362 after he came to San Francisco. That was a heck of a pickup too at the trade deadline.
Just one of those players that knows how to play the game, great instincts for the game.
Finished the season with a 20-game hitting streak. Scudero was at the plate when Cueto was injured. He was in an 0-2 count, as a matter of fact. Cueto's last pitch was a strike, his 8th pitch, and then he had to exit. Back spasms, the report. Reds are hopeful that he'll be able to pitch in Game 3, so no roster moves necessary at this point. Tom Verducci reported after he spoke to General Manager Walt Jocketty. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You see the pant legs of Matt Latos kind of rippling in the wind.
Short. Cozart shovels it over to Phillips. Barehanded throw to first. Actually hits the base runner. And a break for Cincinnati. The Reds get the out at second. But that ball got by Joey Votto. Not the barehanded play by the Gold Glover Phillips. The only chance he had to turn it.
Well, he bounces it, and Votto does not come up with it and hits Scudero on the leg or foot to keep it in play.
Right on that line from second base to first base is an open area in that Cincinnati dugout. If that goes into the dugout, then the base runner would advance to second. That's a big break for Cincinnati with Sandoval coming up.
That's a couple of throws in the dirt, too, that Votto hasn't been able to come up with.
Always have to be ready if you're pitching to Sandoval. Loves to hit first pitch.
And right on cue, swings away and fouls it off. Second at bat for Sandoval against Latos. He had a great at bat back in the third inning, an 8-pitch battle with Latos that ended in a single to right center. Two outs. Hannigan calming Latos. Big bouncing ball. Phillips. Another barehanded play in time for the out. He always makes it interesting, but he usually always makes the play. Brandon Phillips finishes off Sandoval, and we head to the sixth. Sunday's upcoming schedule brought to you by Miller 64. MLB Network will have game 2 of the ALDS between the Oakland Athletics and the Detroit Tigers. And then on TBS, Washington and St. Louis get their best of 5 series started at St. Louis. Cardinals winning the wild card game yesterday. They'll have Wainwright against Gio Gonzalez, the Yankees and the Orioles. And we'll be here in San Francisco for the Reds and the Giants. Bronson Arroyo against Madison Bumgarner for San Fran. Detroit winning earlier today. The Tigers beat the A's 3-1. Justin Verlander was outstanding. He struck out 11 in 7 innings, gave up just 3 hits.
Didn't start too well, but it finished well.
That's right. Coco Crisp with a leadoff home run. I think it just made him angry, Joe.
Yep.
Well, Ron, George Contos is on to pitch for San Francisco. Matt Cain is out after 5 innings.
You know, a trade that really helped both clubs. They sent Chris Stewart over to the Yankees, played a big part as catcher for the Yanks, and Contos, who was just outstanding once he was called up from Fresno.
Ryan Ludwig will lead off for Cincinnati. Swings at the first pitch. Reds lead 3-0. A 2-run home run by Brandon Phillips came with 1 out in the 3rd inning on a hanging breaking ball from Cain, and then Jay Bruce went deep, 420-foot blast up into the bleachers in right field. AT&T Park surrendering the fewest home runs for left-handed batters. It's not a home run hitter ballpark anyway, but the Reds, with 2 of them tonight, producing all 3 of their runs. Ludwig to start it, Bruce to follow, and then Scott Rowland.
Low 90s fastball on Contos, good sinker, a lot of sliders to right-handed hitters.
Bruce on deck with a couple of hits. A double and a homer. Very quiet here at AT&T Park. The Reds have taken this raucous crowd out of it for the time being as Ludwig strikes out. Well, how about we take you back a decade? Remember Darren Baker, the 3-year-old son of Dusty in the World Series? One of the iconic moments as JT Snow ran by, grabbed him, saved him from further damage. Look at Darren just patting him on the back. Nice job, JT. Well, he's 13 now, and he is in a Reds uniform, and he's in that dugout with his dad, and look at that. He's growing up right in front of our eyes.
Talking to Mike Leake there on the bench, all covered up. Keep him warm.
The bat boy that was saved by JT Snow, the 3-year-old bat boy in a World Series. It's a good experience. And, earlier tonight, now they staged earlier this year a bit of a reunion. They reenacted that moment. There's JT Snow, works for the Giants organization now, and reuniting with the young Darren Baker. Got that big smile, just like his dad.
Had a chance to visit with him in his dad's office today when we all went in for the managerial meeting, and what a nice kid he is.
Couldn't have been more polite. He offered his seat to you, Joe.
Yeah, he did.
It's good to see Dad. Bruce. And that's a strike, a called strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Jay Bruce.
Jay Bruce came up at a very young age, called the natural, as they have the 2-strike shift come in place.
3 infielders on the right side. Bruce pulls it over the Reds dugout. Don't see many shifts, but Bochy does this with 2 strikes.
Well, you know, they have the numbers, they have the charts, and with 2 strikes, Bruce most of the time becomes complete pull hitter.
The 2-2 ball's hammered into center field, backing up on it. Pagan, he's got it. Pagan playing very deep, and Jay Bruce with his 3rd hard hit ball of the night, and for the first time the Giants retiring. 2 outs in the inning for Cantos. Scott Rowland now with 2 away. It was a sneaky trade by Walt Jocketty in 2009, one that went under the radar. Reds were out of contention. Jocketty, who was with Rowland championship years in St. Louis, knew him well, loved him as a player, loved him as a clubhouse presence, acquired him from the Blue Jays. Jocketty sitting there with Joe Morgan. He made the acquisition, didn't think much of it, but then the next season Rowland became a key part of Cincinnati's division championship, the first time they had gotten into the postseason in 15 years. And it's no coincidence that as the Reds struggled last year, Rowland struggled to get on the field consistently last season. Relatively healthy year this year, however.
Votto was a kid, Bruce was a kid. It's nice to bring a veteran presence in there who's a winner, plays the game right, plays the game hard, and will teach the younger players what it takes to be a champ.
Have to weather through a few injuries at times, but he's such a tough cookie. Always comes back, seems like stronger than ever. He's also the only 3rd baseman in Major League history with at least 2,000 hits, 500 doubles, 300 homers, 1,200 RBIs, and 6 Rawlings Gold Gloves.
Well, Cantos in a 2-2 count against Rowland. Giants will have the middle of their order coming up in the bottom of the 6th as Rowland lays off a breaking ball. The fact that Todd Frazier had such a good year filling in for Joey Votto and will be in consideration for a Rookie of the Year. Once the Reds clinched, Frazier was able to go over to 3rd base. That allowed Rowland some valuable rest time, and you figure Frazier to be a factor at some point in this division series as he sends one to right. Hunter Pence will make the play, and the side is retired. Cantos 3 outs out of the bullpen. Posey leads off. Posey, Pence, and Brandon Belt. 3-0 Reds. Statue of Willie McCovey, McCovey Cove, San Francisco, game 1 of the National League Division Series. Cincinnati overcoming injury to their starter Cueto as Buster Posey on the first pitch, left field. That's deep, and that ball is up and out. Buster Posey gets them on their feet at AT&T Park, and the Giants are on the board.
There was a hanger, too. A couple of mistakes tonight have been hit out of the ballpark by each side. It's so funny, Ron, you and I were just saying before this inning started that something's got to happen to get this crowd back into it.
And none better than maybe the NL MVP getting it started. Shows you how much pop he has out on his front foot. Still can dump it over the left field wall.
Amazing that he can keep that ball fair. Posey on a first pitch, off-speed pitch from Latos. 24 home runs this year. And his first postseason home run in 2012. It puts the Giants on the board. There's Pence flailing away at the plate, down 0-2. Amazing that Posey can keep this one fair. A lot of hitters just hook over it with power as he sends it out of here.
I think the vernacular used by today's hitter, they stay inside the baseball. None better than Posey.
Other guys are going up there looking for a first pitch off speed.
Well, think about it. Latos has faced 14 hitters, 12 first pitch strikes. Posey wasn't going to let it pass.
Latos in his fourth inning, making a relief appearance tonight as Hunter Pence sends that one deep to center field. Stubbs at the track with room. He's got it. David arrived, but the wrong part of the ballpark for Hunter Pence. Two well-hit balls to start this sixth inning.
You're managing the ball club for the Reds. Is that a signal for you? A home run and the long fly ball by Pence.
Absolutely, and we've been talking about the 3 days rest, and now he's not pitched on 3 days rest, and this is his fourth inning when he wasn't supposed to pitch at all.
And Dusty Baker, knowing he is well armed in his bullpen. Pitch number 51 for Latos. It's Brandon Belt, the ball. Cueto started. He went one batter, a batter plus 2 pitches, 8 pitches total. Sam LeCure an inning and 2/3. Latos has been in there since. His first inning was the third. He's given up 3 hits now, including that home run by Posey.
And if he were a long reliever, guys, and he gets through this inning and you say, okay, he gave you 4 innings, a long relief, 3 hits, 1 run, you'd really be singing his praises.
Now 3-0 on Brandon Belt. Belt's had a couple of good at-bats tonight. He walked his first time up, then lined out as he takes a strike. Disagreeing with Phil Cuzzy.
The unusual part of this ballpark is there's no call to the bullpen. All the relievers are on the bench, so you just yell down the bench who you need to get up. Arredondo gets the call.
The right-hander. Belt into the left. Deep was Ludwig, and he lays out, and Ryan Ludwig able to make the play. Not known for his defense, practically standing on the warning track, comes in to make a diving catch for out number 2. Oh, great catch by Ryan Ludwig, and a bonus for the Reds to get a play like that from their left fielder.
Good play from a guy. Yeah, you just don't expect it all the time from Ryan Ludwig, but that was a terrific play and a good break for him. Latos appreciated it.
He's second out. And here is Gregor Blanco now. Drops a bunt down. It's a good one. Rolling bare hands. Throws. And the throw gets away. Oh, what a play by Phillips. As Blanco will reach on a bunt single. And Brandon Phillips saves an extra base there. Maybe 2. Oh, what a big play. And a great bunt by Blanco. His second hit of the night.
He had 6 bunt hits during the regular season, but look at this play by Brandon Phillips that kept it from getting into the bullpen.
Great hustle. I think the problem you have here is Latos gets in Roland's way, or it might have been a little easier to make that throw, but you're right. Great hustle into the bullpen to make that play.
And you saw Blanco scamper back. He had made the turn. He was ready to advance, if not for Phillips's play.
Well, Brian Price is out there to talk to Latos, but we've seen in this game defensively how challenged Joey Votto is at first base. He's really having a hard time moving. That would have been a play that most of the time he would come off the base and just make the play. No play on Blanco at first.
Makes you wonder with his knee how much flexibility he's got in it, where he can bend it to get low enough to make those scoops.
Blanco with a bunt single. And Dusty Baker's going to let it ride. The Giants are at the bottom of their order. Brandon Crawford, the 8th place hitter, with 2 outs. A run is in on a Posey homer. Crawford was walked intentionally in the 2nd. The Giants stranded the bases loaded. Matt Cain lined out with the bases loaded in that 2nd. And then Brandon Crawford struck out. It is only at bat against Latos.
If he can hold him close, turn it over to Hannigan after that. He threw out 48% of base stealers this year.
Popped him up. Cozart is back. And the side is retired. Matt Latos, 4 strong for the Reds. Gives up 1 run. Buster Posey brings them to their feet here at San Francisco. A home run, and it's 3-1 Cincinnati. Not so easy to watch The Big Bang Theory on TBS. They air it like 50 times a week. Don't miss The Big Bang Theory when it returns after MLB postseason. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights on TBS. Very fun.
Got a little editorializing by you there, Brian, or straight card?
It's not enough for me.
It's a good show. Big Sheldon fan. Cantos back on the mound. And a 3-up, 3-down 6th inning for the Giants reliever. Ryan Hannigan will lead off for Cincinnati. 0 for 2 tonight. Matt Latos looks like he's done for the night. His spot in the batting order coming up 3rd here. And impressive that he can go 4 innings tonight, just 1 run under the circumstances. An emergency appearance for Matt Latos after Johnny Cueto left this game after 1 batter faced. Sean Marshall, the first of the 3-man juggernaut in that Cincinnati bullpen. Down to the Crawford. Short-handed shortstop makes the play for out number 1. And George Cantos has retired 4 in a row. Dusty Baker and Matt Latos between innings.
Great job.
Good job.
And even if you add Sam LeCure to that, then you have relief effort, 5 2/3, 1 run.
Now the Reds, if they can finish this game off, think about the momentum change here. Now they've got their ace Cueto. If he's able to come back, he'll pitch what will be the first game in Cincinnati, which will be game 3 on Tuesday.
It's been a huge emotional turnaround for the Reds tonight.
As Drew Stubbs lifts one of the air out to Hunter Pence. And 2 gone.
Instead of an, oh no, now what are we going to do? They have really covered for that exit, that early exit, in a great way.
You know, the way the division has been set up, the division series of opening up on the road, you have to take 1 of 2. And if the score holds up, boy, you're in the driver's seat.
Well, Matt Latos scheduled to hit. Miguel Cairo will come off Dusty Baker's bench. Another one of the officers in that clubhouse and in that dugout for Dusty Baker, bringing a lot of experience. He was part of that 2010 club.
Dusty was talking about it. He said, I don't want to have to worry about the bench. I don't want to have to worry about the locker room. I've got my lieutenants, and I will go to them and say, will you please take care of this? I've got other things to do. Cairo, one of those lieutenants.
So Cairo, a pinch hit appearance in the 7th. 3-1. The Reds have the lead. Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce with home runs. Buster Posey homered for the Giants. Bender in there for a strike on Miguel Cairo.
Cantos, a rookie who appeared in 44 games, thrown into the fire. It's like he's done it before.
His first postseason. Pitched with the Yankees last year, as Ron mentioned. And first trip through the National League.
He's come in throwing strikes tonight. That's the key, and that's what they needed.
Kane started, went 5, gave up 3 runs, just 75 pitches in those 5 innings. As Cairo, a lazy fly ball to Pagan in center. And George Cancho, 6 big outs in game 1 of his LDS. Stretch time in San Francisco. The Giants are coming up, down a pair. Game summary as we head to the bottom of the 7th at AT&T Park in San Francisco. The Reds lead it 3-1. All runs produced by the long ball here tonight. Brandon Phillips with a 2-run shot. Jay Bruce then homered in the 4th. Buster Posey on the first pitch of the bottom of the 6th inning went deep. Johnny Cueto left this game with back spasms. That is story number 1 for Cincinnati. Story number 2 is how their bullpen has picked them up with LeCure to Matt Latos. And for more on the Reds bullpen story, we check in with Tom.
Well, you have to figure that this Cincinnati bullpen had to figure in the calculus of Giants manager Bruce Bochy when he did not allow Matt Cain to take that second at bat trailing. And postseason urgency, yes, but also urgency because of this bullpen shortening the game. It has the lowest earned run average in all of baseball and the most saves in all of baseball. And with Aroldis Chapman at the back end of this bullpen, Dusty Baker will not be afraid to use him in the 8th inning if circumstances dictate.
Well, Tom, it is the new Reds version of the Nasty Boys. Remember Norm Charlton and Rob Dibble, Randy Myers. That vaunted 3-man finish for Cincinnati. And now it's Sean Marshall and Jonathan Broxton, and into that man, Aroldis Chapman. It's Marshall in the 7th.
Well, usually they do it much quieter than the Nasty Boys. Occasionally, just a forward roll by Chapman on occasion.
Well, these guys, in addition to what Tom was talking about, leading the majors in ERA and saves, they also were the best in the National League at opponents' batting average against, and they averaged 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, which is the second highest average in Major League history, second only to the 2010 Atlanta Braves.
Well, Aroldis Chapman waiting his turn. First up, it's Sean Marshall, who has been in the closer's role this year. Matter of fact, when the Reds lost Ryan Madson, a free agent acquisition, due to Tommy John surgery, Marshall was the first in that role. He's the 7th inning man now as he faces pinch hitter Ryan Theriot to start the bottom of the 7th inning. Well, how good are the Reds bullpen this year? And again, remember the ballpark they play in, a hitter-friendly park, #1 in the league at ERA, and the fewest home runs allowed by a bullpen this season.
I will say, though, you show me a good bullpen in the major leagues, it's because they have good starters that get to them. 70% of the innings have been pitched by the starters for the Cincinnati Reds, which limits the game, limits the outs that these bullpens have to get.
Theriot takes strike 1. A couple of former Cubs here matching up. Teammates in Chicago, Ryan Theriot and Sean Marshall. Bouncing ball to third. Nice easy hop for Roland. Theriot retired. Sean Marshall one away in the 7th. Don't forget, you can watch bonus camera angles for the division series and ALCS games with postseason.tv. Get started now at MLB.com. See if you can direct a game as good as Jim Lynch, the legendary Bay Area director we have tonight. Scott Cockrell, our producer. It's great to have you with us. Brian Anderson with Ron Darling, Joe Simpson, Tom Verducci. And a tight one here in San Fran as the Giants are running out of outs. Down 3-1. Top of the order. Angel Pagan, the switch hitter, turns around to hit right-handed. And a base hit his last time up. Little flare into left center. He's 1 for 2.
We talked about that home run that Posey hit, putting a charge in this crowd, at least for the moment. But they've still got to get some guys on base. They've only had 1 at bat tonight with a runner in scoring position. And that was Matt Cain with the bases loaded back in the second inning.
Game 2 starter Madison Bumgarner tomorrow. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pagan to be followed by Scudero. And that one's in the air. Shallow left for Ludwig. And 2 gone for Marshall. This has been a top of the order that has done such a great job, especially in the second half, getting on base. Pagan's been hot. Scudero's been hot. Sandoval started to come on here late. And that's given Posey a lot of opportunities to drive in runs.
It's pretty interesting, though, talking to both managers. They both kind of said it in different ways, but we're saying that this series is really going to be pitching and catching. Catch the baseball in this difficult ballpark and being able to pitch.
Well, there are a handful of plays by the Reds in this game tonight to keep a list going, because they have prevented the Giants from taking extra bases. A run-saving play in center field by Stubbs, cutting a ball off in the gap. San Francisco was unable to score. They left the bases loaded. That was back in the second inning. Think about the play Votto made to start a double play. And then, of course, Brandon Phillips behind the bag on that wild throw from Roland.
Isn't it funny, though, how we've talked about how this series would play out? The fact that Bronson Arroyo is pitching tomorrow for the Reds, because it's better to have him pitch in this big ballpark than at Great American Ballpark, and yet all the runs tonight, the result of homers in this yard.
It seems like the ball is traveling well to right field and right center. Jay Bruce, he can hit him in any ballpark, but he hit a long home run up over that high wall in deep right center. Marco Scudero with 2 outs, and the 1-2 pitch hit hard to left. Ludwig playing deep, reaches up, makes the catch.
Thing of beauty.
Not always pretty, but he has gotten the job done.
Add it to the list.
Another one to the list. Ludwig has 2 on the board right now. Moment with your team. Download Team Stream on the App Store or Google Play. AT&T Park, San Francisco, game 1 of this National League Division Series. The first 2 games here, and the final 3 games, if necessary, in Cincinnati. Well, this packed crowd, this sellout crowd at AT&T Park, have been relatively quiet after the Reds got that early spark with a 2-run homer from Brandon Phillips. Posey got him on their feet briefly with a home run in the 6th. And as we go to the 8th, and Phillips leading off, it'll be Guillermo Mota out of the Giants bullpen.
Well, sad to serve a 100-game suspension this summer did Guillermo Mota. And after going through for the organization and baseball's embarrassment of Melky Cabrera being caught using PEDs, not all smooth sailing here in San Francisco.
Cabrera, big bat. That lineup leading the league in hitting. A big part of the reason that the National League will host and be the home field advantage in the World Series. Cabrera was the All-Star Game MVP. And he bowed out, did not accept that final plate appearance, which allowed Buster Posey to win the batting title. As Brandon Phillips with a base hit to center. Well, he's had a good night. Hit a 2-run homer in the 3rd. Now a single to start the 8th.
And some good defense. But back to Melky Cabrera and what he meant to this ball club in the early part of the season. We were talking before the game, Ron, about how they didn't have much working except for Cabrera, and then he goes on to win the All-Star MVP. I've just been really impressed with the organization. Even though they could have brought Cabrera back for the postseason, they chose not to. And I thought that was a bold stroke and a good one.
Yeah. A 50-game suspension. He would have been eligible game 6 of the postseason, but Bochy made it clear right away they will part ways with Melky Cabrera. He will not be a part of their postseason plans. facing Zach Cozart.
Occasionally you come into this postseason and you have players that have had really great careers already. Brandon Phillips is one of those on a big contract. And maybe this is going to be his time to shine in the postseason, to let everyone know what an outstanding player he is.
A perennial Gold Glove winner, Brandon Phillips. And Cozart bunts through it. So strike 2. Phillips will run. He had 15 steals in the regular season. The Reds are an aggressive ball club. Bochy to Posey. Not calling the pitches, but calling the throwovers and the hold'ems and trying to protect the running game here. And there's a bunt foul. Now it's 0-2 on Cozart.
The all-around play of Brandon Phillips, something that maybe goes missing at times because he's such a good offensive player, but Gold Glove winner this year. Only 5 errors at second base in 147 games.
No balls, 2 strikes on Cozart. Look from Moda. Cozart steps out. That's the call from Bochy.
Why do you do that? Hold the baseball as a pitcher. It really gets that runner on first base feeling like you have cement shoes at some point.
Giants looking for a ground ball. A change up in the dirt. We got Joey Votto coming up next. Great job tonight from George Contos out of the Giants bullpen. And if San Francisco is able to come back and win this game, he'll be one guy to look to. 6 outs, 6 up, 6 down in the bridge innings for the Giants in relief of Matt Cain. 1-2. Cozart down on strikes. Moda punches him out. And the first out of the Cincinnati 8th. And here comes Bruce Bochy. With Votto coming up, the left-hander. Got Jeremy Affeldt ready to go. Good pitch by Moda for the first out. So Moda is done. A third of an inning. And the veteran left-hander Jeremy Affeldt in to face Joey Votto. Defensive teams all year. A big play early in this one in the third inning as Drew Stubbs cuts that ball off. Giants stranded, the bases loaded. The hot line drive that turned into a double play. Votto made the catch, and look at Ryan Ludwig playing so deep, covering so much ground. A diving catch. And Brandon Phillips saving an extra base there. And finally Ludwig again. Some knobby knees, able to pull that one down. And Cincinnati has lived up to their reputation as one of the best defensive teams in the National League, Joe.
Yeah, second in the league to the Braves defensively all year long, and getting it done again tonight with the lead.
Joey Votto against Jeremy Affeldt out of Bochy's bullpen. One of the main reasons Dusty Baker splits his left-handers, Votto and Bruce, to counteract the opposing manager with a left-hander on the mound. But Bochy's a guy who will use Affeldt to get right-handers.
That word crossover, he can get both the left-handed and right-handed hitters out. Javi Lopez, their other left-hander who pitches deep in the game, more of a guy used against left-handers.
And the sidebar to that is that it doesn't matter, you bring in a lefty to Votto and Bruce anyway. They hit lefties pretty well.
And the Reds as a team handle left-handers. The career numbers. Limited at-bats for Votto against Affeldt, just 1 for 5. Phillips stationary at first. He's dealing with groin issue at the end of the season. Hasn't been willing to run so far to the leadoff single. You just wonder if the Giants are going to go after Votto based on what he has been over his career or what he has been lately for Cincinnati coming off the knee surgery. Because when Votto has such a big presence, he still draws a lot of walks.
Well, he does, and he's always a threat. But I would say that because Dusty knows him so well and what he can and cannot do right now, if his power is that limited, then you want Phillips to stay there at first base and at least leave that hole open for him.
That's out looking for the ground ball. Giants would love to turn two here. Votto chops one out to second. Scudero will put the tag on, throw to first in time. Double play. Or is it? No, Phillips avoided the tag. It looked like Scudero tagged Brandon Phillips, but somehow he avoided it. And he ends up at second base.
How did he not tag him? Fell over him. Oh, he did.
Yeah, ball in the bare hand.
He went to tag him and had to at some point get the ball out of his glove to make the throw at first, and never did get to Phillips.
And a low throw dug out by Belt. So safe is the call, the right call by the second base umpire, Jerry Davis. Instead of an inning-ending double play, the inning continues, and the Giants are going to intentionally walk Ludwig to set up a matchup with Affeldt and Jay Bruce.
I don't know what that play is called, but usually you see it on the playground.
I'll call it a heads-up play by Brandon Phillips, who wasn't willing to concede the out. He's had himself quite a night.
There used to be a time in baseball that runner would sometimes run over the second baseman, but that is a play that's not used anymore. So
Albert Bell was pretty good at that.
Yes, he was.
Ludwig draws the intentional pass. Take another look. There was a lot of contact, but nothing with the glove and the baseball. It was all with the feet. Scudero was able to get the out. Nice pick over there by Brandon Bell.
The thing that Scudero could have done is that he could have stopped Brandon Phillips, thrown to first base, and then got in a rundown. That's what he could have done.
Ryan Ludwig is out. Pitch runner coming on. Chris Heisey, who will stay in the game and play left field. Heisey with good speed. So the Reds with 2 on and a hot hitter at the plate. Jay Bruce 2 for 3 tonight. Joe, you mentioned it. Bruce, one of the most streaky hitters in the league, notorious for that, as he's hit 3 balls right on the button tonight. A double, a home run, and a line drive out to deep center. Strike to Bruce.
91 on the fastball, and that's about where Affeldt sits with his fastball. 92, 93. Curve and a split.
It's a big call by Bochy to set up this matchup. 2 on, 2 out. And Bruce on a couple of hops to Scudero. It pays off. The Giants are out of it in the 8th. The Reds strand a pair. 3-1 our score. Cincinnati leads. Giants coming up. Sunday on MLB Network, it's ALDS Game 2. The A's and the Tigers. Coverage begins Sunday at noon Eastern only on MLB Network. Go to MLBnetwork.com or the channel number. Matt Vasgersian and Jim Cott will have the call for you there. Tigers up 1 game in that series. Big Jonathan Broxton, the right-handed CC Sabathia in size. Former Dodger closer, traded to the Reds from the Royals this year. He's the setup man for Cincinnati facing Pablo Sandoval.
His best work was done in the middle of the summer when Aroldis Chapman had shoulder fatigue. They rested him. He went 4 for 4 in save opportunities.
So Chris Heisey staying in the game in left field as the Reds tighten up their defense. Sandoval, Posey, and Pence coming up.
Good tight slider there. He throws hard, mid-90s with a mid-80s slider, and then somehow missed the shin guard. He got the back leg.
And Sandoval, who can foul it off just about anyway, as we got a DeLorean boat out there.
Let's have the waterproof flux capacitor.
There you go.
One ball, one strike on Sandoval. 1 for 3 tonight with a single. Ball's lined right to the shortstop, Cozart. Out number 1. There's been a couple of line drive outs that have gone against the Giants here tonight.
Brandon Belts, and now this one by Sandoval. Got all of it. Looked like it might climb for a second, but Cozart positioned perfectly. This crowd is just dying for the Giant offense to just throw them a bone.
Well, you said it between innings. No hitting, no cheering. And you got to give credit to the Reds pitching, but the Giants offense has scuffled tonight, with the exception of Posey, who went deep in the 6th on the first pitch he saw from Latos in the 6th inning. First and only run of the night.
Again, the difference between this ball club, this Cincinnati team, and the one that went to the postseason in 2010 is pitching. And they had a horrible thing happen tonight with 1 out in the first inning. They lose their ace, and they've covered that up beautifully.
Yeah, they put a tourniquet on it, pieced it together, right? And have a 2-run lead.
Sam LeCure could be the winning pitcher tonight if the Reds hang on to win. He was the big piece, going an inning and 2/3. Then Latos 4 innings with 1 run. Marshall and Broxton, and on a half swing, a foul ball. A ball and 2 strikes on Posey. Posey didn't waste any time in the 6th inning, leading off the 6th. And a first pitch off speed from Latos, a breaking ball that Posey sent out of here.
Ryan Hannigan knew it too.
The get over breaking ball got out of the ballpark. Posey's had just 1 at bat with a runner on base tonight. He's led off the inning twice. And this will be his 4th trip to the plate. As he shoots one to right. It's a beautiful piece of hitting by Posey. And now the Giants will bring the tying run to the plate. And their best run producer, at least cumulative for the year, Hunter Pence.
Beautiful piece of hitting because he's behind in the count. He's trying to guard the plate. You got a guy 6'4", 300 pounds out there. And you know that he's going to be bringing it in the mid-90s, and yet he's still willing to just try to fight it off and go to right field.
That's how you hit 336, I guess.
Yeah.
So here is Pence. Finished 5th in the league in RBIs with 104. A power threat in this Giants batting order.
He likes the first pitch, too.
He swings away, fly ball to right, got some carry to it, but not quite enough. Posey has to hustle. Bruce fires it in. And Posey back at first as Pence on the first pitch flies out to deep right field. Just missed it.
Well, one of the keys to tonight, we've been talking about the defense by the Cincinnati Reds, and it wasn't accidental, but when the Giants got their leadoff man aboard in front of Brandon Belt in the 4th inning, when Pence led off, reached on an error, was that rocket that would have gone into the right field corner and would have set the Giants up had Votto not made a real quick reaction and a good play to turn it into a double play instead.
So Belt 0 for 2, does have a walk tonight. 2 outs, tying run at the plate. Jonathan Broxton, the Red setup man, on the mound. He was signed by the Royals to be the setup man in Kansas City behind Joaquin Soria. Soria was injured and out for the season. Broxton moved right into that closer's role in Kansas City and saved 23 games for the Royals. Twice an All-Star as a Dodger. He knows this division, knows this ballpark well. And a big pickup for Cincinnati. Ball and a strike.
Broxton trying to find a little redemption 6 years later. His first only time in the postseason. 2006. Got a loss. Was 0 for 1 in saves with a 13.5 ERA.
It goes to 2-1 on Belt.
It's tough to square up too. He's only given up 2 home runs this year. One in the American League to Wilson Bettamy, and one in the National League to Andrew McCutcheon. Pirates.
Broxton's last postseason appearance until tonight was a loss, a blown save against Philadelphia back in 2009 NLCS, giving up 2 runs in that 1 inning. And he lost confidence after that. 2010 and 11. Back in a big spot. 3 balls and a strike. A hitter's count for Brandon Belt. Moving away from Belt in this at bat. And ball 4. The Giants extend the inning as Belt draws his second walk, and Broxton with 2 on behind him now and 2 away.
That's only the 3rd walk that he's issued as a member. I think the 4th walk he's issued as a member of the Giants. In the regular season, just 3 in 22 innings.
Big man with a big sweat going here as Bochy's Giants are threatening in the 8th.
You know, the only one else on your bench that has some pop for Bochy would be Xavier Nady. Probably going to save him though for Chapman later in the game.
Gregor Blanco, 2 hits tonight and a walk. Perfect night at the plate. Hit just 167 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. But here he represents the go-ahead run. Aggressive on the first pitch, fouls it away. The Giants have had just 1 at bat with a runner in scoring position tonight. They're 0 for 1. San Francisco has not been to second base until this inning, since the 2nd inning. And that 0 for 1 was Matt Cain's line drive out with the bases loaded back in the 2nd.
Yeah, he hit that ball hard.
To the count on Gregor Blanco.
High strike there, called.
Consistent though. It started in the 1st inning.
Big pitch coming. Giants down 2 with 2 on. 2 outs in the inning. The runners will be on the move with the crack of the bat. Ball 2 strikes. Back to the fastball. 98 miles an hour from Broxton.
When he backs off of his fastball a little bit, and I say a little bit, to 96 or 95 or maybe even 94, he gets some good late movement. He can throw throw a two-seamer to run away from Blanco that's awfully tough to lay off.
Saw Brandon Crawford on deck. Blanco would love to give him an at-bat in this 8th inning. Ready for a 1-2 from Broxton. And that one's upstairs. A little outside as well. 2-2 the countdown.
Well, this is the payoff pitch for the pitcher. You can't go to 3-2 and have the runners running. Broxton's got to go after Blanco here.
And Blanco steps out.
Cat and mouse game here by Blanco and Broxton.
Broxton didn't like what Hannigan was putting down. See what he goes with here. 2-2 the count. 2 on, 2 outs. And high and tight. Ball 3. And the count is full, which will give the runners a head start. And that is huge with the tying run at first base.
But he doesn't want to risk walking Blanco and putting the potential tying run in scoring position. So he wants naturally to throw a strike in his best pitch is his fastball. Blanco knows that. Let's see if that's what Broxton decides to stay with.
Runners go, and a strike called as Broxton rings up Gregor Blanco. Jonathan Broxton, a huge strikeout and a scoreless 8th. On our way to the 9th inning at AT&T Park in San Francisco, Jonathan Broxton, a big strikeout to end the inning there, Ron.
Well, the pitch tracks, it's right on the corner, but a difficult at bat for Blanco. Got a pitch called at the top of the letters and one just at the bottom of the knees.
And the Giants strand 2. Broxton gives up a hit and a walk. Marshall win a scoreless 7th. Broxton a scoreless 8th. And now the Giants have Santiago Casilla, who has spent time as their closer, with the flame-throwing left-hander Aroldis Chapman preparing for a potential save opportunity in the 9th. This is the formula for Dusty Baker. Scott Rowland fouls it away, and a roundabout formula to get to these 3 terrific relievers here tonight.
One of you guys said that one of the most dangerous places on the field right now was that of the first base coach for the Reds, Billy Hatcher, because of a ball that might get away from Aroldis Chapman. You know, they put a catcher or a player down there to protect the warm-up bullpen catcher in case there's a line drive hit. They need to put somebody behind Hatcher.
That's right. As hard as Chapman throws, everybody in his line is in danger, including the catcher, umpire, and batter. Rowland fouls it back. All of the runs on home runs tonight. Not something you'd expect here at AT&T Park, the pitcher-friendly ballpark that it is. Phillips with a 2-run homer. That came in the 3rd inning. Off Matt Cain. Cain gave up a solo shot to Jay Bruce. Buster Posey with a home run for the Giants. And there is a way to the finish line here for the Reds without having to face Buster Posey again. San Francisco is at the bottom of their order, the 8th spot in their order in the bottom of the 9th. Rowland cannot check his swing. He cuts and misses. And a strikeout for Casilla, that nasty slider.
Hard downer on that slider. He was their closer at the beginning of the year. Ran into some trouble. Romo's kind of finishing up games now. He's the closer, but this guy's got nasty stuff.
And I don't think we've given the Giant bullpen enough credit, keeping their team close after the 3 runs given up by Matt Cain.
As Ryan Hannigan steps in with 1 away. Now, both of these clubs lost their closers, 2 pitchers that were supposed to finish games for them. Ryan Wilson out with Tommy John surgery. Same for Ryan Madsen, who was signed as a free agent by the Reds to start the year. They lost him in spring training, the Reds did. And both of these managers able to recover and get their clubs to the postseason without their established closers available. And again, a hot shot back up the middle, a base hit. His first hit. And the Reds catcher is aboard. Gives us a chance to check in with our Atlanta studio and Matt Weiner. Matt. Very nice, thank you, Matt. A couple of capable pitchers will be able to take you through that in the studio with Eck and Boomer Wells.
We mentioned before how great Verlander was. Well, the rookie Jared Parker did a nice job getting that game into the 7th inning for the A's. Randy Moss made a bid in the 8th inning off Joaquin Benoit, just came up short in a deep drive to right field. So a lot of fight still in those A's tonight.
Well, that collapse by the White Sox allowed the Tigers to get in, and I don't think anybody wanted to face the Tigers in a short series or any series with Justin Verlander humming along like he does.
He's the best weapon in the postseason.
They played really well down the stretch.
Drew Stubbs takes a ball high, and Garcia has fallen behind 3-0.
It's hard to fall behind 3-0 on Drew Stubbs because he likes to swing the bat. If there's a knock on him, it's that he does strike out too much. He's 5th in the National League with 166. They can get him to make a little more contact. They've got themselves one heck of a player.
So Xavier Paul on deck for Cincinnati. Stubbs takes strike one. Back in 2010, Cincinnati made an acquisition late in the year with Milwaukee to get Jim Edmonds. They felt like Stubbs wasn't going to be the answer in center field. Edmonds was brought in. He was injured. Stubbs took off in the month of September and was their starting center fielder for that postseason in 2010 and their leadoff hitter.
Well, if Dusty Baker had his druthers, it would be for Stubbs to be his leadoff man, as we've been talking about. But he's got to improve his on-base percentage and cut down on his strikeouts.
So now 3-2.
His on-base percentage has been below 30% for most of his career.
Yeah.
Stubbs has some pop. 14 home runs. And one of the fastest players in the league. Garcia was behind 3-0. He's come back. A full count. Ends up 3-1 in the 9th. Stubbs had a single and a run scored in the 3rd. He was aboard when Phillips went deep. There he goes. Garcia comes back to strike out Drew Stubbs. His second punch out. 2 gone in the 9th. Just a reminder, Monday on TBS, nothing more American than baseball and a 6'4" redheaded comedian. Don't miss Governor Romney's Sons Monday night after MLB postseason, only on TBS. Very funny. Reds are going to go to their bench once again. It'll be the 4th pinch hitter in this 9th spot in the batting order. And Xavier Paul will pinch hit with 2 away and a runner at first.
I'm not sure Homer Bailey thought he was going to be the first guy off the bench tonight, though.
I don't think so.
Sally Cueto left early, faced just one batter. Bailey pinch hit for him in the 3rd inning. The pinch hitting began in the 9th spot in the 3rd. Actually, Latos was in the game when he hit in the 5th. It's been a wild ride for Dusty Baker tonight. He's in the position he wants to be. Ahead late with a great bullpen.
How many teams have used 3/4 of their rotation by the 3rd inning in a game? That doesn't happen too often either.
Cueto and Latos and Bailey. Ball and a strike on Xavier Paul. And a strike to Paul. 1-2 the count. Bat, a little flare, long run. That ball's got a chance to fall. It does fall. And a single with 2 outs. A broken bat hit for Xavier Paul. Hannigan ends up at third base. Runners at the corners against Casilla. And the Reds go back to the top of the order now.
Just a broken bat flare. No man's land. And then here's that guy, Brandon Phillips, again.
Outfield playing very deep. A lot of ground to cover out there. And Xavier Paul delivers with a 2-out hit. Now Phillips with 2 hits tonight, including the 2-run home run in the third. Giants can ill afford to give up any more. It'll be tough enough against Chapman, down 2 in the ninth. Good block by Posey.
That was a beauty.
Jose Mijares on his way to the bullpen for the Giants.
That was a tough one because it bounced so far out in front of him. But able to plug up that space between his legs. 5-hole, the short hop in front of him.
And save the run. Casilla, 25 saves this year. He dealt with blister issues that nagged him for over a month. Could not get healthy in the fingertips. Just so important for a pitcher, obviously, but he couldn't heal from that blister. Knocked him out of that closer's role. He was ineffective. Trying to wiggle through this ninth inning with 2 on as Phillips. His knees buckled.
It's hard to wiggle through a tough inning when you're pitching behind in the count to every guy up there, especially one that's as hot tonight as Brandon Phillips.
See it taking his time, knowing that this one of the most important pitches he'll throw here in the ninth.
An anxious crowd here at AT&T Park. Big pitch, the 2-1. Phillips had a good cut. He fouls it back.
Yeah, the home field advantage here, Brian, extends beyond just the fact that this is a big ballpark. They have a team that's pretty much made for the dimensions of this park, but because of their fans and how terrific they are, how wonderfully supportive they are. And tonight they just haven't had enough to yell about.
Full house every night helps too.
Sure thing.
Two and two, everything up in the zone against Brandon Phillips on our pitch tracks. And a liner base hit right field. In to score is Hannigan as Brandon Phillips comes up with a big hit for the Reds, giving Cincinnati a 3-run lead. It's now 4-1, and the 3rd RBI for Brandon Phillips.
Going the other way. A little inside out swing there from Brandon Phillips.
We saw it from Posey earlier. You show me a good hitter, you show me an RBI hitter. It's a guy with 2 strikes that'll take that single to the opposite field.
Chapman's ready. Cozart the batter. You figure Casilla has 1 more hitter. Mijares, the left-hander, loosening in the bullpen, and the lefty on deck, Votto. Think about that broken bat hit. Xavier Paul extends the inning, and Cincinnati takes advantage. Cozart with a hit tonight. He was also hit by a pitch. Kane got him with a 2-strike pitch back in the 3rd inning. He's 1 for 3 tonight. And it goes to a ball and 2 strikes.
Well, Phillips knew how big this hit was. Fastball away, goes that way, and look at the reaction. Raised bat, hits himself in the head, in the helmet, and looks to the bench.
A salute that only Brandon Phillips could offer. Look out. See it back to the screen. Karem's back over Posey's head. Both runners will advance.
Was that a play? Because I think he was trying to get the ball to come back off the screen back to him and maybe catch the runners unaware.
That's the old-fashioned pitch back, right? Off the netting. Slider that he doesn't get on top of. And some hops, but Posey's in the 25 pounds of equipment.
Had not a lot of room back there, and that one had a quick bounce back. Both runners advance. Garcia's having a rough time here in this 9th inning. Looked like he could have been out of the inning. That broken bat fly ball by Paul was in the air a long time. It drops. Phillips delivers with the RBI. 26 pitches in this inning for Garcia. 2-2 pitch, and that gets by Posey. And coming home is Paul. No play. The Reds swipe another one. As Garcia's pitch gets back to the screen. 5-1 Cincinnati. A wild pitch. Comes back to get him.
And this is a pass ball. This is on Buster Posey, who was trying to frame that pitch the best he could. He just didn't catch it.
Well, it's hard to blame Posey when your pitcher is bouncing at 55 feet, throwing it back to the screen, and then throwing back up sliders. Should he catch that? Absolutely, but Garcia all over the place.
A wild pitch advance, 2 runners. The pass ball brings one more in. And now 3-2. With Phillips over at 3rd. Cozart swings and misses. Down he goes on strikes, but Cincinnati with 2 big runs in the 9th. And now the Cuban Missile on his way out. Aroldis Chapman for the bottom of the 9th. To 1, Cincinnati leading San Francisco, and one of the biggest weapons in all of baseball this year. The Reds closer, Aroldis Chapman, 38 saves this season, and he will take to the mound. This is not a save situation. 3 outs to get and a 4-run lead to work with. Joaquin Arias will pinch hit for the Giants.
The pitcher routinely hits the century mark. Brian Madison hadn't gotten hurt. They're going to try to make him into a starter this season.
And everything changed for the Red season when Chapman was inserted into that closer's role. That was in an interleague series in New York against the Yankees. Chapman's pitched in the postseason back in 2010 as he deals strike 1, and that's cruising speed at 97.
That was his get over.
That's right. Take a little off, get it on the outside corner.
Aroldis Chapman has hit 105 miles an hour in his big league career. That was a couple of seasons ago. They've asked him to back down a little, pitch with more command, but he can still pitch it into triple digits when he needs to. 2-2 to Arias.
It's a very unique motion. Before he comes to the plate, he has a big delay, takes a kind of step to the right, and almost tells the hitter, here it comes.
into the air to right center, down for a base hit. Arias singles, giving Giants fans some hope here in the 9th inning.
It's one of those add-on runs are so huge in the top of the inning. And the fact that as we watch Chapman here and on the base hit by Arias, good at bat by Joaquin, is that even when you're down 2 at home, if you just get one base runner, then you got a chance. You've got a shot to at least tie it up with a good swing. Now it's going to take a big inning.
Now Bochy will go to his bench once again. Xavier Nady to pinch hit. So Arias, the pinch hitter, is aboard. Nady hitting in the 9th spot. The top of the order coming up next. There's a lot of concern about Aroldis Chapman. And again, you guys mentioned some of the benefits of clinching early. Cincinnati and San Francisco clinched on the 22nd of September. The Reds shut Chapman down for 12 days. He returned on the 22nd. He pitched in their clinching game. Had some fatigue in his throwing arm. And he said he came back to a translator today. He told us that he didn't feel like himself until the last game of the season when he got a save against the Cardinals on October 2nd. Catch by Hannigan. And Arias will advance. He just threw that one right by his catcher.
Brian, it looked like to me that Chapman got upset on a couple of calls he didn't get, and I think it's affected him. It's not a safe situation. We've seen other closers have troubles in those spots too.
I think you're right. Almost like there was a smile of bemusement on his face, like he can't believe that Phil Cuzzy, the home plate umpire, did not call them for strikes. Almost like doesn't have the intensity he would have in a save situation. It could become a crucial situation quickly.
Well, there's ball 4. So now Chapman with 2 on will have to deal with the top of the order. Buster Posey looming in the cleanup spot, and Dusty Baker is on his way out. Nobody warming up in the bullpen.
What I like,
a motivational speech.
Well, absolutely. What I like, it's not pitching coach Brian Price. He's coming out there to tell him there's no such thing as save situations in the postseason. You just want to get the win, put it on the board.
Well, the media has to communicate with Chapman through a translator. I think what Dusty has to say here is easily understood by Aroldis Chapman.
I would agree in no uncertain terms. You and I were talking between innings, Brian, about as we look at his reaction to a call he didn't get.
See that look?
Yeah. But about how many pitches would they let him go for fear of maybe using him up too much for tomorrow?
Well, he's stepping into the danger zone now. Top of the order. This has been a good part of the order for the Giants. They've been a very good hitting team in the second half. And a lot of damage done at the top. Starts with Pagan. 5-1. 2 huge runs for the Reds in the top of the 9th. And there's a fastball strike.
No one on the Giants team has faced Chapman more than one at bat. And the only 2 guys that had hits off of him prior to tonight were Hunter Pence and Buster Posey, and they were both 1 for 1.
Right by him. 0-2 the count.
Whatever Dusty said, a little more serious out there.
Chapman made 2 appearances in the postseason of 2010. As Pagan fouls it back. And he was saying earlier today, he said, I was disappointed in that postseason, obviously because the Reds were swept, but I didn't get to show my stuff. I really didn't get to get involved in that series at all. That will not be the case this time around. Popped him up. Who wants it? Hannigan looking for help, and he makes the play. Ryan Hannigan, tougher than it looks. Infield fly roll call.
Now that looked like
a second consecutive night.
That looked like an infield fly to me.
What a play by Hannigan, though. The wind here
playing it, starting to run away from him, still able to make the play. You hope as a catcher that your first baseman or third baseman helps you out on that play.
You got a guy at first with a bad knee and a guy at third base who just soon not run into everybody.
So the first out. Marco Scutaro. Pablo Sandoval next. San Francisco hoping to get Buster Posey an at-bat in this ninth inning. He's due a third at this point as Scutaro takes a strike.
Not a bad idea at all by Scutaro to make it throw him a strike. Got to have another base runner.
Two balls and a strike on Scutaro.
17 pitches already for Chapman.
Getting up a single and a walk. Gets the out on the infield fly rule. And Scutaro fouls it away. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Marco Scutaro. Remember, the Reds scored a couple of runs in the ninth inning. It was a long inning at the bat for Cincinnati. Chapman was ready early in that frame, as it was a 3-1 ball game when he began loosening. The 2-2. Scutaro fouls it back.
The hard part for a hitter is when you're facing a guy that throws as hard as you have a tendency to want to swing as hard as he's throwing. And conversely, you need to slow everything down. Just try to make sure you let your hands work, get the barrel out there.
Well, we have not seen his best fastball yet. 2 balls, 2 strikes. A breaking ball. 3-2 the count. Good take by Scutaro. The tying run is on deck. The 3-2, and it is down and in. Ball 4. Scutaro draws the walk, and the Giants have a chance here in the ninth.
Well, it's got to get someone up in the bullpen, I would think.
For a couple of reasons. One, he doesn't have his good stuff tonight. You don't want this lead to slip away. And 2, you don't want him out there throwing 35 or 40 pitches.
That was J.J. Hoover on his way to the Cincinnati bullpen. And now Chapman in a mess as this crowd is back in it. And the Giants with their 2 best hitters coming up and the bases loaded. Still just 1 out. Pablo Sandoval. Always the first pitch.
Yeah, he's not taking it.
No. Nor should he.
Yeah, right?
That was 99, and he was a little tardy, but give him another couple of looks. He can catch up.
There's the man the Giants want to the plate. The Reds are set up for a ground ball to turn 2, which would end the game. The 0-1, and he fouls it back. Sandoval down 0-2 now. Chapman hitting triple digits to get ahead of Sandoval. 0-2. And that one's in the air. Infield fly rule again. The second of the inning. Sandoval is out. And what a big out it is for Aroldis Chapman to get Pablo Sandoval.
Well, he was up there hacking. That was the best favor you could do Chapman tonight because he's had trouble with his command. With Sandoval chasing everything that was up in the zone and couldn't get on top of any of them. But here's Posey.
And the matchup we've all been waiting for. Buster Posey, our oldest Chapman. With .433 against left-handers this year. And a big swing. Had one to hit, fouls it back.
Funny how his bat speed mirrors Chapman's a little better.
Yeah, he was on that.
Yeah, it wasn't too late.
Bases are loaded. A single and 2 walks. Posey, the tying run. Giants down 5-1. And that gets Matt Hannigan coming to the plate. Arias, the throw is late. A run is in. That'll be a wild pitch on Aroldis Chapman. And the Giants, with their second run, pull within 3.
Well, he wanted the fastball up. He got it up and just bust through the glove of Hannigan.
Play at the plate.
Dangerous play to have your closer covering home and a runner sliding in.
So now runners at second and third. Buster Posey with 2 hits tonight, including a home run in the 6th. And another good cut. Fouls it back. 1-2 the count on Posey. After the 6th inning, on the first pitch he saw from Matt Latos in that inning, a hanging slider from Latos, and Posey with his second career postseason homer.
Let's see if Hannigan sets up that high target again. He did on the last pitch that Posey fouled back.
Bounce a slider maybe.
Giants down to their last strike. The 1-2 and a swing and a miss. Chapman strikes out Posey, and the ball game is over. Cincinnati wins the opener tonight. They overcome an injury to their ace, Johnny Cueto. Piece together a bullpen and pick up a huge win in Game 1, beating Matt Cain, San Francisco's top pitcher.
Well, big win for the Cincinnati Reds. Phillips, this might be his coming out party. One of the best players in the National League. Big hit late to really put the game away, or look like it was away.
Brandon Phillips, our Chevy player of the game, drives in 3 big runs on 3 hits. Phillips had the 2-run home run in the 3rd inning that jump-started Cincinnati. Had another single in the 8th inning, and then came up in the 9th inning with a chance to add a little insurance, and Phillips delivered his 3rd RBI of the night. And in Brandon Phillips' last 3 playoff games, 7 hits, 2 homers, 4 runs batted in.
Outstanding work by him and by the Cincinnati Reds as a group after the injury to Cueto, with just 1 out in the bottom of the 1st.
As we send it down to Tom Verducci with Brandon Phillips. Tom?
Well, Brandon, your manager, Dusty Baker, said he's never had a player like you who can hit in so many spots in the lineup. 1st, 3rd, 4th. Tonight, you batted 1st. You hit like a cleanup hitter. 3 hits, 3 RBIs, including that big home run. Take us through that home run and how important it was to get out front tonight.
Honestly, I was just trying to make things happen for the team, man. I mean, you know, they talked to me before the game. It's like, hey, B, you know, we on TV. It's time for you to shine. And I was just like, all right, let me see what I can do. And, you know, he left a hanging curveball up there, and I just, you know, took advantage of it. He was a great pitcher. He just left some balls up. And, you know, we just had a good day at the plate.
A rough start to the game with Johnny Cueto having to leave after only 1 batter. He became the first team to win a National League playoff game with a pitcher lasting only 1 out. How did this team survive after losing your ace so early?
Well, to tell you the truth, we really believe in our team. You know, Johnny is the type of person that we really need, and you know, a lot of people went up there to go talk to him a little bit. He had his head down a little bit. I said, we're going to get this game for you, Johnny. You know, so you just try to get better, and hopefully you can come back. And, you know, it's sad just to see him go down like that. He had a great year. And, you know, all we can really do is just try to go out there and just have fun and go out there and get as many wins as possible.
Brandon, a couple of years ago in the postseason, the team did not show well defensively. Tonight, you show with many defensive stellar plays, including your play in foul territory. How important is defense to this team?
Well, you know what people say. They say that offense sells tickets and defense wins championships. So, we try to go out there and try to be the best defensive team we could really be. And, we did that today. Hope we can keep it up the rest of the series. 2010, it didn't go our way. We was making errors all over the place, but we learned from our mistakes. And, you go up there and just catch the ball, and positive things can happen.
Brandon Phillips, thank you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Back to you guys.
All right, Tom, thanks. A 3-hit game for Brandon Phillips. The Cincinnati Reds were no hit in their Game 1 back in 2010 by Roy Halladay. Tonight, 5 runs, 9 hits, and they win the opener. And now they are in a good spot, and we'll have to find out about Johnny Cueto and see if he's available to pitch Game 3. We know that Cincinnati has Bronson Arroyo tomorrow, Madison Bumgarner for the Giants. Our final score tonight, the Reds 5, the Giants 2. Game 2 of the series tomorrow night, 9:30 Eastern, right here on TBS. And coming up after the break is Inside MLB, presented by Captain Morgan. Please remember to drink responsibly. TBS is your home for the 2012 Division Series and the exclusive home of the American League Championship Series. I'm Brian Anderson saying so long from San Francisco as the Reds win 5-2.